too long. I've been out here on my own. Now I'm about to bring it home like a rolling stone. I ain't never been afraid to die. Look a man in the eye. I come to give you what you love. It's time to give you what you love. I'ma give you what you love. Give you what you love. I am sharper than a switchblade, first and last of all God made, and that's the truth. But man, keep on trying to hold me back while another chicken head come home to lose. Too strong, try to do me wrong, and the last one standing will order and command you to dance. Oh, dance. Run tell your preacher and your teacher, I'ma give you what you love. I got to give you what you love. It's time to give you what you love. Give you what you love. Give you some love. Yeah, baby. I said I take your time. Take what you love, baby, just enough. But never too much, baby. Take your time. Take what you love and with it, baby.
Welcome. Hello and good afternoon. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice or watching me on YouTube Radio, Facebook Live, wherever else, IG, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and I am your host on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Listen, it was quite an interesting weekend. There's so much for me to catch up with you all on about what's happening locally and what's happening around the world. I don't even know where to start, but today we're going to start with the elections because today is the very last day to register to vote. Did you hear what I said? 11:59 tonight is the very last time you can register to vote. I'm going to ask you to go online, double check to make sure you are in the numbers, because there have been some nefarious things happening with our ballots recently, and so you want to go online if you have not checked to make sure that you're eligible and registered to vote, that you are eligible to vote and registered. All right, so mother, usually, when I am in my, I'm working, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I felt hot. Function of my ages and stages, I guess. So listen, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the elections after we discuss what's happening with COVID-19 around the country. So much is happening. I had to make a run to Virginia to go see my younger sister this weekend just for the day. I couldn't hug her, couldn't touch her. We had to wear our masks. We stayed 6 feet apart. And when we ate, even though we ate at her house, we ate on the patio. Like all these extra precautions we have to take just to make sure that we are safe. And when I went to the Apple store when I went to the Apple store to get my phone fixed, Apple would not let us inside unless they took our temperature. So if your temperature if you were spiking a fever, they would not let you in the store. That's the kind of stuff that I want to see. Those of us who are practicing all the precautions and taking all the safety measures, we want to make sure that there are 220,000 people dead from this virus, y'all. And we've got to be better about this. And so as we're talking about, voting, I want you to think about all the lives that have lost in this country. I want you to think about the fact that we're in a deep recession, although no one is talking about it. I want you to think about what your life has been like. A stimulus check, a $1,200 check is not going to be able to carry you into infinity. Hundreds of thousands of people are without a job. And so it's a lot. There's a lot going on here. So here's the thing. I am going to do again, and I've said I will do this every single time I get on the air, and I'm going to keep doing it. There are 4 ballot questions for Philadelphia County. Now, if you want me to read the ballot questions for Montgomery County and Delaware County, please send them to me or let me know ASAP. I have no issues reading them. But right now we're talking about these 4 ballot questions in Philadelphia County. One of them is to ask the police department to eliminate the practice of unconstitutional stop and frisk. They're asking you if that is what you would like as citizens of Philadelphia. We're asking you to either vote yes or no for that. The statement, it would, let me just make sure, that it's asking that that the home rule charter for the Philadelphia County be amended to call on the police department to eliminate the practice of unconstitutional stop and frisk. And what that simply means, if you vote yes, is that they would change the city's charter so that it sets forth a statement that calls upon the police department to end the practice of unconstitutional stop and frisk. So many of you held rallies. So many of you had held conversations in churches and you protested outside of City Hall. Here is your chance now to decide whether you want to end unconstitutional stop and frisk as amended in the Home Rule Charter. If you do not vote for this, then I don't want to hear you fussing about it after this election. The second ballot question is, shall the Home Rule Charter be amended to create the Office of the Victim Advocate to advocate for crime victims and to work with victim services providers to coordinate, plan, train, eliminate, and educate and investigate issues relating to crime victims. Over 365 people have died thus far and counting in Philadelphia. And so this home rule charter, if you vote yes, would set up an office for people whose families have been victims of crimes to help give them the help that they need, educate, ensuring the crime victims know their rights, promoting cooperation among agencies that serve crime victims, and providing training and support to agencies that interact with crime victims. The third question is, shall the Home Rule Charter be amended to provide for the creation of a Citizens Police Oversight Commission and to authorize City Council to determine the composition, powers, and duties of said commission? For those of you who are not aware, because I don't want to assume anything, there is already an oversight, the city currently has an oversight body called the Police Advisory Commission created by the mayor, which the mayor could eliminate. With this charter change, the Citizens Police Oversight Commission would be a permanent part of city government. Did you hear that, right? City Council would determine how members are selected for the Oversight Commission and would establish the commission's specific powers consistent with its mission, which would substantially broaden the advisory role, which would be substantially broader than the advisory role of the Police Advisory Commission. All right, and the fourth and final ballot question is, should the city of Philadelphia borrow $134 million to be spent on capital purposes as follows: transit, streets and sanitation, municipal buildings, parks, recreation and museums, and economic and community development? This ballot question, if you vote yes for it, would authorize the city to borrow $134 million, which would leave the city in $134 million of indebtedness. The capital purposes mean, streets, sanitation, municipal buildings, parks, recreation, etc. And so it was all specific amounts identified in Bill number 200298, approved June 26, 2020 in City Council. So you can go look up all of this stuff and figure out what you want to do from here. But please register to vote. Please, 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 please. All right, let me, Michael A., Germantown, who is A? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Andrea. Oh, my goodness. You said it, and you said it just like I had said it before, is that we have up until 12 o'clock to register. I know that we voted. We mailed in. We voted. We're going to vote. We're going to march and do whatever we need to do. But we need to get those who are not voting and get them registered. All they have to do is go to their cell phone. They would spend more energy going to the nail salon, getting their hair done, watching the basketball game, watching the football game, than they would do to do what is most important, is to walk down the street and push that button and get Thanos 45 out of there. And that is the main thing. And if you need a movie to watch, you need to watch the end game. And if you watch the end game, you'll understand that we need to stand together in these Wakanda streets and get this thing done.
That's right.
Listen, A.
Listen, A. Do you hear me talking about it every single show? Every show. I'm like, people, can we get it together? I called my son. My son, my youngest son lives in another state, and he told me, he says, Mommy, I'm not even doing a mail-in ballot. I'm showing up at the polls. I'm not giving them an excuse to take my ballot and say that they had to throw it out for whatever the reason. He said, I'm
That's
showing
right.
up on voting day. He said, and if I had to stand in line for hours, he's 24 years old, right? If these young people, and we have to stop sleeping on these young people, because when I tell you, the young man was so, he knew what was going on. He was following the confirmation hearings. He understood what was going on in the country.
Yes.
He said to us,
Yes.
he said they pushed through a confirmation hearing in a few days, and people have been waiting for months, he said, you know, to get another stimulus package passed. This is what I want us to do. I want us to get to the place, where we stop moaning and complaining and take the power that we have in our hands and do what we're supposed to do to help ourselves, right?
That's right.
So,
Fight is the part of the Black Panther.
Yes.
Stand up. And if you don't know who to vote for now, I'm going to give you some names to vote for. You vote for Jonathan Price. You vote for George Floyd. You vote for Breonna Taylor. And you vote for Sandra Bland. And you vote for the 300,000 people who have been wiped out by the snap of a finger by Thanos 45. Pick a number and say that I'm voting for number 2. I'm voting for number 1. I'm voting for number 5 of 300. Vote for them if you're still undecided and you don't know what to do, because you've witnessed what has happened over the past 4 years. And those who were 18 and 24 in 2016 that either weren't registered, did not vote, or voted for Thanos 45, I know you regret it. What you need to do is you need to go back and tell those that are 18 and 24 now that are voting for the first time and tell them, I regret what I did. Don't you make the same mistake.
You better come on with it, WURD needed to put you on a commercial. That was great.
Come on now.
That was great, because we can't keep, we have to be about it. You know, I keep reading the ballot questions, and I keep saying to folks, listen, you said you wanted to stop our constitution of stop and frisk. Here it is on the ballot question. All you have to do is vote yes or no, right? I don't want to see another person out there protesting when you got what you wanted on the ballot question and then you didn't answer it, right? So every day, sir, every day that I'm on the air until election day, I'm going to read these questions, because we go in there and we just pluck a number and we don't read them and understand that our rights are being taken away from us when it was given to us. It was handed to us on the platter. All we had to do was vote yes or no.
And Andrea, you can't just wait for our cable land to be on the menu. You can't wait for Eden to be on the menu. You can't wait for green grass to be on the menu. And you can't wait for the ship to park for you to say, oh, we're in a nice place and let's fight now. You need to stand up. You need to fight now to create those things for them to happen. You just don't wait for them to happen. You have to stand up. You have to have a spine. Stand up and let's fight. Stand together. And if you need to watch the end game again, watch it again. Because we need to stand together and we need to fight.
You know what, you need to call me every time I'm on the air. You just lit a fire underneath me.
Come on.
Because listen, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate you, okay? And keep listening, all right?
I've been waiting to do it, and hopefully I inspired people across this nation to make sure that they wake up and they need to do it. Come on. Don't follow fake news. Don't follow fake news and get confused. Because they'll tell you, oh, everything's okay. We're going to be all right. Y'all winning. Come on. You know fake news was created by Trump. You ain't never heard the term fake news until he said it. Come on now.
And you know, I have a friend named Michelle who always said black people have to realize that every time they're flushing the toilet, we're not on the handle, we're inside the bowl, right? And so we've got to get ourselves together and climb out of that bowl and start making some decisions, intellectual decisions that goes beyond our emotions. And so that's why we keep talking about this. I thank you so much for calling, sir.
Don't go through, wait a minute, one more thing. Don't go through battered wife syndrome. Don't go through the fact about burnout, and don't go through shell shock. Stand up. Let's stand together. Let's fight with the heart of the Black Panther.
Yes, sir. Have a good one, okay? All right, bye-bye. Oh, you're welcome. Bye-bye. All right, Rose from Logan. You all are hot today.
Oh, wow.
Rose, are you there?
Very hot. Burn, baby, burn with A. Oh, my goodness. What a message. Listen, I just want you to touch on the bases and get it out there that the felons can vote. They have a right, and they are able to vote. A lot of these men, 1 out of 3, I talk to them all the time, aren't aware that they have the opportunity to vote. It's right. Do it. Bring it.
And Rose, they can vote, and they can vote even while incarcerated, Rose.
Exactly.
Yes.
No. Some are
Yes.
so
Y'all
uneducated.
listen.
Number two, the literacy problem. People, I work the polls. When you get in that booth, people can read the questions to you, and you can decide on what number, this, that, and the other. But don't not vote because you have a reading problem. Get in there. There's assistance. There's help for you.
All right. So listen, if you have a problem deciphering words and reading, don't let pride keep us in the toilet now. We need to be on the handle and not in the toilet bowl. So come on, people.
Get out the toilet. But the message needs to be given out there to the public. Reading, illiteracy, whatever. Don't let that deter you from going into those polls because there are individuals inside the booth that can help you. They can assist you. They can read to you, and you can make the decision. Go,
one more question, Rose. Hispanics. Is there someone there for a Spanish translator for those who have a hard time?
There's translators available. Yes, there are. There's a phone number they can call. There's help for everybody. Just do it.
Yes.
He got to go.
I just want to make sure that our black and brown people, because there's so many of us out here that have been ignored, and you know. And here's the other thing that I want us to do, Rose. After the elections are over, start stomping to hold people's feet to the fire. I'm so sick of mediocrity. I'm sick to death of mediocrity. The city is filled with it, right? Mediocrity and petty behaviors and, oh my gosh, you're talking about me, so I'm not speaking to you. We need to start looking. I think the young people, I know because I've been talking to them now for a couple of years. The young people are rising up, honey. They're rising like queens.
Oh, yeah. I see it with my grandchildren. They're not going to handle stuff like we did. They're not going to accept the lesser. They're going to be about it. They're going to bring it. It's going to be about them. I see it in my grands, 18, 19, 20.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Have a good one, honey.
Okay, keep up the great work. All right.
Yes,
bye-bye.
Ma'am. Bye-bye. I think you better call Tyrone. Call him, Tyrone.
Hello, Mother.
Hi, sweetie pie. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Man, hanging and banging. I rode 25 miles in some Virginia bushes yesterday, rode through all this water, up some hills. I was tired when I was finished, but I was exhilarated, Tyrone.
I'm not riding a bike, but I'm riding my car, and I'm riding from one side of this city to the next. Let everybody know that this is the last day to vote.
Yes, sir.
And most importantly, if anyone is turning 18 years of age on or before November the 3rd, they can register and they can vote. So I'm on a mission today, Mother. And my mission is to try to encourage every 18-year-old to get out, register, and vote.
And so remember, Tyrone.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mother. I keep cutting.
Listen, Tyrone. Tell the ones that are ex-felons, too, the returning citizens, say, please, you can vote. You know, take them.
Yes, and anyone, whether you have a felony or a misdemeanor.
Come on now.
In the state of Pennsylvania.
Yes,
in the
sir.
state of Pennsylvania, you are eligible to vote. And we want you to come on out. And, Mother, I just want those folks who have registered and who do vote is to get that little individual that's always on that, video, playing them video games, knowing that they're 18 years old, to take a little time and get out there and register to vote. This election is so critical because, hey, Mother, folks already know, Trump has appointed almost, if not more than 200 federal judges. So, and the federal judges impact everything we do. And folks got to understand that. And so I'm 18 years old. This is your opportunity to get in this process and to make sure that your voices are heard, because, like the brother said earlier, it's going to scare this system to death. Them 18 to 21-year-olds, if they go on out and do what they have to do. But, Mother, I'm happy. And I'm going I'm on the loudspeaker telling everybody they got to get out, they got to vote, but them 18-year-olds, I'm on a mission.
All right, so All right, Tyrone. So Mova's got to take a break and pay some bills. Otherwise, she won't be on here to sing to you every time you call, right?
Well,
But
thank you for
I want
singing
you to
to me,
stay
though.
healthy today. I want you to drink your water, stay hydrated, eat some food, and put your mask on before you try to put the mask on anyone else. Do you hear me?
You're right about that, Mother. My mask is on, and I'm
All right.
talking for it on, when I'm on the speaker.
Yes, sir. All right. Take it easy.
All right, love you,
Mova
Mother.
loves you. Love you too. Bye.
And Ron
Ah!
is with me.
All right, bye-bye. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
The WURD Radio Newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio Newsletter.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Reverend Tyler, with November 3rd around the corner, do you know how you'll be voting this year?
Dr. Callahan, I requested my mail-in ballot, and I'm returning it the day it comes in the mail.
That's perfect, because we can't leave anything to chance this year.
Already received your mail-in ballot? You're just a few simple steps away from turning your mailbox into a ballot box. Here's how. After selecting your candidates, place your marked ballot into the small secrecy envelope and seal it. It's a 2-envelope process, so then you'll place the small secrecy envelope into the larger one. Make sure to seal that one too. Sign and date it, and then it's as simple as dropping it in your mailbox, no postage necessary, or returning it to your county election office. And if you still want to sign up to vote by mail or find out where to drop off your mail-in ballot, visit votespa.com.
I'm not waiting until November 3rd. I'm returning my mail-in ballot the day it comes in the mail.
Or you can return your ballot to your county election office.
I've got my plan. Make your plan to vote today.
Paid for by Power Interfaith.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Okay, Mike, what was that? All right, we are back. So I went over to the Facebook Live page, and I just read something. Laura said, I could not figure out how to vote for it in her mail-in ballot. There were no instructions given. If you feel like you're missing, so when we got the mail-in ballots, right, there were a bunch of instructions on if you're watching me on Facebook, see this long sheet of paper was just about the 4 ballot questions. It was written in Spanish and in English. There were secrecy envelopes. There were instructions for how to fill out your ballot. If you feel like something is missing, don't do anything. Take it to one of the 17 locations that are around in Philadelphia or wherever you live and say to them, I don't know if I have everything here. They will be able to instruct you further and tell you if you had everything in your envelope. Because so much is happening right now, we want to make sure that everybody gets everything they need within their envelopes so they have the choices needed to vote. I have this next guest coming on that I am super excited about, but let me take Mary. Mary, are you there?
Yes. Good afternoon, Andrea.
Good afternoon, Mary. How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine, thank you. I just want people to know that we have commissions in place, commission offices in this country and in the city, in the state of Pennsylvania. You know, we have EEOC, we have the Human Relations Commission, and we have this other group, a PICA, that is supposed to not only investigate and prosecute any illegal actions against citizens in the city or the state. Now, I want people to know these agencies and commission office have
out of my correct benefits with the state supplemental insurance benefit when I was injured on the job. You know, they failed to act even though I provided them with the information and showed them that every citizen in the state of Pennsylvania was being cheated. No attorney would take the case because they said that they could be sued for legal malpractice. So I want to know, what are these new commission groups going to do when the old ones have failed to act? I mean, what investigative skills do this new group that's going to have that's appointed by the mayor? You know, this is a joke. So they're cheating us, and they're going to continue to cheat us until we start taking them to court. City council should not be appointing these people that have failed to do their jobs in the past. Curtis Jones want to be under the head of this group regarding the police department. He's already in charge of the ones that's supposed to take care of the children in this state and in this city. And what
are you talking about the Department of Human Services, Madam?
Yes, the Department of Human Services. He has been over that section for ever since he's been with City Council. And now look at what we're seeing, that they're removing children that was harmed. You know, these people are not qualified from what I'm seeing based on even these ballot questions and also the money that they blatantly stole from us in Philadelphia County. Get back our money and make sure these people are held accountable for their illegal actions, not to give them a cushion job. So vote no on that ballot question for those commission groups and that $135 million. Thank you. So, have a good day.
All right, Miss Mary. Bye-bye. Miss Mary didn't let me get a word in edgewise. I was trying to tell her a couple of things. One of them is, which I agree with her in part on the commissions. I have friends who went to the EEOC. Some got great responses, others didn't. I went to the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission to file a complaint against the police department years ago, and at that point, they were not able to fully help me. I was the one that went further. They got an investigative officer out there, and I then went with that and then started taking people to court with vim and vigor. It's the Jamaican in me, honey, and won against that police department. They were so stunned. And so we have a certain amount of rights for ourselves as citizens. We just have to know and step in the gap and not be afraid. Be unafraid and unapologetic for your rights, right? And if one person can't help you, then you turn and you get other people to help you. So that's where we are. I've got to, oh my gosh, I've got a bunch of callers. Well, let me take our guests. You guys that are on the line holding, don't hang up. Mother will get to you shortly. I've got to take this next guest because it's someone that I wanted to talk to. This past Friday, WURD hosted a special event to celebrate the Reverend Dr. Leon H. Sullivan, and it was sponsored by the Sullivan Progress Plaza. And we had 2 hours of guests talking about this man that everybody revered. And I never met him personally. And so I decided on my show, The Source, that once a month I would highlight something about the Reverend Dr. Leon H. Sullivan. And in the middle of that conversation on Friday, I kept saying to the folks, he reminds me so much of my Jamaican heritage, because there are little things there like his Sullivan principles. And so today I am super stoked to let you know that we have none other than his daughter, Hope Sullivan, on the line. She is Lord. I can't even, there's so much that she's done. She is Lord. Her bio is long. Let's see. Hope Sullivan was asked by her father to develop a youth division of the Opportunities Industrialized Centers of America, OICA. Let's just start there. Good afternoon, Miss Sullivan. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you?
I am so good. So listen, so let me do this. Leon Howard Sullivan, October 16, 1922, to April 24th, 2001, was a Baptist minister, a civil rights leader, and social activist focusing on the creation of job training opportunities for African Americans, a longtime General Motors board member, and an anti-apartheid activist. Sullivan died on April 24th of leukemia at a Scottsdale, Arizona hospital. He was 78 years old. Miss Sullivan, welcome to The Source.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I called Miss Sullivan this morning and I said, listen, I want to talk to you about your father. I just found him to be so inspirational. I could feel the Jamaican roots. And what did you say to me, Miss Sullivan?
I told you that he was raised by his grandmother. Everyone in Zion Baptist Church knows about his grandmother. Anyway, and I told you his grandmother was Jamaican. Her name was Caroline Trueheart from Trelawney. And there are true hearts. So yeah, that's why you recognize that Jamaican sort of,
It was so interesting, Hope, because I felt the fearlessness. I felt all of it, and I was like, this is Jamaican. But no one ever, until you said it to me this morning, I would not have known. So thank you for sharing that part of him with us.
And I told you, like my mother used to say, she, they got married within 3 months of knowing each other. We were married almost 60 years. But she said one thing about him that struck her was that he wasn't afraid of anyone. She said she was so tired of meeting men that were scary, and she said there was nothing scary about him. And I think that is the Jamaican heritage.
Yes.
Because I have a Jamaican husband. They are fearless.
Yes, and we say it all the time. It's part of our heritage. We are told, fear no man but God, right? And so we are not afraid to walk away from things that don't serve us. We're not afraid to stand in the gap for others, and we're certainly not afraid to stand in the gap for ourselves. And that is what your father emulated. As I read everything about him, his Sullivan principles, it made perfect sense. So I'm happy to claim him as part Jamaican.
Yes, he's family. You can claim him. You can claim him.
So listen, your father has left quite a legacy here in Philadelphia and around the world. When you heard that programming on Friday, what were the immediate thoughts that came to mind for you?
When I heard that speech, and I just happened to see it on, come across Facebook, and I think my brother Howard sent it to me. Howard's still in Philadelphia. And so when I was listening to it, my first thing is I started crying because I hadn't heard his voice in so long. And it's hard, to hear the voice somehow. It changes the energy around someone who's passed away. But then to hear it all in the way it was presented with all those different people, it was really amazing. And to see the breadth and the length of his life's work.
Yes.
In a tight piece. I appreciate it. And I told you this morning, I played that sermon for my grandson. I'm a grandmother, My grandson, Zion, named after Zion Baptist Church. And he was just spellbound by listening to this man. He was like, this is my great-grandfather. Anyway, so I appreciate you for doing that because, you never know. People live after they die through people's memories and through what they hear. And if we don't ever repeat it again, then, we run the risk of forgetting. So I appreciate you very much for that.
Oh, you're quite welcome. You can thank Daryl DeBrest and the rest of them. They were amazing. Mr. Whitlock, Senator Shirley Kitchen, Kenny. They were all, Kenny Ash, all of them stepped in the gap to make sure that this programming happened for him. Yes, because they were concerned that this man had created such an impact in this city. And here we are struggling and fussing when there was so much that is still happening here. OIC is still here. The Sullivan Progress Plaza continues. When we had the looting and the uprising in Philadelphia, the Sullivan Progress Plaza was left untouched.
My God, that's amazing.
Right? People were just like, nah, nope, not doing that. It's amazing. It was amazing to watch.
I think maybe Howard told me that, but that's amazing. And the other thing is, when I listened to that speech, the 4 virtues, it still applies right now.
Yes, it does. Yes,
Isn't
it does.
Amazing? It's the same situation, right? In history, and it's amazing.
And so, Hope, what your father talked about, people come here as immigrants from other countries, and they do day labor, they take care of people's children, their nannies, whatever. And the little bit of money that they make, they join something called a partner. And if they make $100 a week, $5 of that $100 is going into this partner. And they take their money and they put it together, Hope, and they start to pay for other people's college educations coming behind them.
That's beautiful.
We still do it. My siblings and I still do it. We still pay. We quietly pay for children's educations, that may not be able to afford to go to college or go to school, because we understand the principles behind doing that, elevating a life versus buying a brand new car and driving around in it, right? Because the car fades over time. And so it's a mindset. It's a mindset that your father absolutely had. So.
Yes. And it was really crowdfunding as you're,
Yes, absolutely. So how many siblings are there of you?
There are 3 of us. My sister lives in Arizona, Julie. She has 3 grown children, and then my brother, Howard, lives in Philadelphia, and he has 2 sons and 2 grandsons. And then there's me, and I have 2 daughters, and my oldest daughter, Chelsea, is married, and they have 2 children, Zion and Ella.
Right. So what has your father's life meant to all 3 of you? Let me ask you personally, when you see all this stuff going on, how has his life impacted yours?
Oh, he was my skin. We were very, very close. He was my skin. I mean, I still think about him every day. I mean, it's impossible to separate yourself from, a person like that, as you know. And I mean, it's just magical. And there's no way to recreate it, but you just, feel blessed to have, had the glow of that magic. So we all, clearly it's even after 19 years, it's not like, it's not as raw as it was in the beginning. The veil is always there. It's a little thinner, but he abides with me, certainly.
Mm-hmm. We often hear that children of famous parents who have broken the barrier of just living regular lives, tend to suffer in the shadows. That doesn't seem that way with you and your siblings.
Well, I mean, I think that my parents were so grounded, and we really did have, at least Monday through Friday, it was a normal life, and in that sense, he was mindful, I think, more than some others, of maintaining, a presence in the house at all times. Some other second-generation people that I know, their fathers were always gone, and so they were basically raised by their mother. They were always gone, and they didn't engage them in their work. I mean, Howard, Julie, and I all worked with my father directly in his work, so we were almost like trained from being young that was just what we were going to do.
Mm-hmm. Did you? There's so many questions I have to ask you. It's okay. It's me too, because I have so many questions I want to ask you. They're bubbling, up to the tip of my tongue.
Okay.
Wow. Did you? What was the most impactful person that you met through your father while he was alive?
Oh, wow. He and Dick Gregory were very, very good friends. Mm-hmm. Very, very close. They were like brothers, and I think that he was the most interesting person. That became a part of our life through him. I mean, he was just fascinating. And then, on the summits, my father used to joke there was one free ticket on all the charters, just one, and that belonged to Gregory. That was it.
Oh.
Because he just carried him with him. It was like they had a very interesting brotherhood. So he was the most interesting person, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Most multi-layered. I mean, you meet a lot of African presidents, and some of them, you hear, you know what you know from the news account of things they do and behavior they engage in and how they treat people. But then when you go to meet these leaders, sometimes it just feels like, wait a minute, I read all different things, but the sort of diversion between who they are personally and then
okay, Hope. You hit on something that I want to talk about when we come back from break, because I tell people this all the time. what the presence that people read, the thing that people read about you should be what they experience when they're in your presence. And that was something that your father emulated to the nth degree. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back, okay? Hold on.
Okay.
You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
More step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations, because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
He's back.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
In times like these, we have to stay connected.
At a brand new time, Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
I'm excited that Keeping It Real returns to WURD.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight. This program is pre-recorded. No phone calls, please.
Keep it locked to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURDradio.com.
Everyone's journey to their vote is different, but they all share the same first step. If you want your voice to be heard on Election Day this November 3rd, you must be registered to vote. It's easy, and there are lots of ways to register. You can do it in person, online, or by mail, but you have to do it by October 19th. To learn more about how to register and to make a plan to vote, visit PhiladelphiaVotes.com. However you want to vote, we'll help you find the way.
New Voices for Reproductive Justice is registering Black women and their families in Philly to vote. The general election is on November 3rd. You can register to vote online at rock.vote/New Voices. That's rock.vote/New Voices. The deadline to register is October 19th. If you need assistance registering to vote, visit newvoicesrj.org.
What you get for your vote is important. For decades, Democrats like Joe Biden have taken our votes for granted. They have promised us a better future and never delivered. What did our votes for Biden get us? He wrote the 1994 crime bill that put millions of black men in prison for nonviolent crimes and a sluggish economy that left our communities behind. What does a vote for President Trump and his Platinum Plan get you? A contract with Black America that prioritizes black economic empowerment, 3 million new jobs for the black community, 500,000 new black-owned businesses, an increase in access to capital in black communities by almost $500 billion, better and cheaper health care, more education opportunities, and continued historic improvements to our criminal justice system. A vote for Biden gets you the same failed policies we've seen for decades. But with President Trump, the best is yet to come.
I'm Donald Trump, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Donald J. Trump for President, Incorporated.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you are just joining us, I have on the line with me Hope Sullivan, one of the Reverend Dr. Leon Sullivan's 3 children, who is here to talk to us as a follow-up from our conversation on Friday, celebrating his birthday, life, and legacy, which was sponsored by the Hope Sullivan Progress Plaza. And so, Hope, I watched your father's sermon twice before I did that program, before I hosted that program. Are you there, Hope?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
All right. And so here, I can hear you. Here are some of the things that I pulled up because I actually took notes. He talked about industry, the importance of it, and profitable labor. If you have those skills, you can scale mountains. You can scale mountains. Without it, the nation will become weak. Something we talk about in Jamaica all the time. If you can use your hands to build and to fix anything and to use your head to get the kinds of education that you need, you will never starve, right? Yes, then he says, be the first to arrive and the last to leave. Practice these principles because work wins. Hope, we talk about this all the time. Anybody that spends any appreciable amount of time around me know that if I set a meeting at 1 o'clock, please be there at 1:45, because at 1 o'clock I'm gone, right? To be early is to be on time for me, always. And I've done it several times. People had to learn. Then he says, we must emphasize preparation and education. Hard work opens doors and integration, right? He says, we fought, marched, and died for integration. Whatever we learn, we must prepare for. Integration without preparation leads to frustration. The man was a genius, Hope.
Yes.
He was a hope.
Yeah.
Right?
I was thinking about that line, too, when I heard it. I was thinking, that was really smart. That was a good one.
Yes, because he's right? We talk about we want this, we want that, but we don't prepare. When people bring you to the table, you don't know what you're asking for. Preparation is key, right? Then he says, this is when he got me, Hope. He says, develop the minds of our children, or we will be hewers of wood and carriers of water. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? He was amazing. He said, we must stop coddling our children. Their equity is in their minds, and no one can take it away from us. The man was, listen. Then he says, without discipline, there can be no order, and therefore no progress, right?
Yeah.
He said, learn to cooperate economically, because if we cooperate economically, we can do this. If we learn to share our resources, we can own anything we desire. Buy what you need, not just what you want, and stop living Cadillac lives on Chevy incomes. I fell out my chair. That was it.
Yeah, yeah.
That was it.
Because what he knew is that, and learned this, well, I'm sure he learned it a long time ago, and it really was sort of reinforced with South Africa, with apartheid in South Africa, because what we saw was when people harnessed their power economically, then it didn't matter what form of government you had, it would come down. But if you don't harness your money economically, and people are poor, then the first instinct is to fight. So if you build up income so that you have a middle class that basically has too much to lose by fighting, then you change the system from within. And I believe that's why South Africa avoided the bloodbath we all anticipated was going to happen at the end of apartheid, because there are enough black people that had worked their way up into a middle class lifestyle that it became an intellectual exercise rather than a physical one.
Yep, and your father, I was told, was the one that gave Archbishop Desmond Tutu, the Sullivan principles that he used to help end apartheid. Imagine that, right? The thing that I try to explain to people here, when I talk to them, a friend of mine said to me years and years ago, you work, you make money. Why are you still driving like a 10-year-old car? I said, because the car is not what moves and shakes me, right? It's how many lives can I impact in the process. So one of the things I try to, and I teach my sons this all the time, my oldest son bought a house at the age of 23 3/4. He still has this little car that he's been petering around in, right? Because he said, so now he's buying more real estate because he's learned the Sullivan principles through his mama, right?
Yes,
right?
That's excellent.
It's not about what you have on your body, because the $400 sneakers are devaluing by the time, and I get it. There's a certain amount of I need to feel good and look good. But what we're telling people, if you take your coins and you save it and blend it with other people and cooperatively say, you want to buy a block? I have a friend, Joanna, who is buying blocks like nobody's business in Baltimore, because people in Philadelphia wouldn't give her the time of the day to buy the blocks here. And she says, sis, you want to buy up $600? Like, that's what you want to take your money and do, right? To help buy into and invest into communities so that your money will continue to grow for you. Your father was a genius at that, right?
Yes.
I hope I feel like
I sent you, and that's basically the next step. We've had our head down for a few years working on this next sort of economic empowerment piece, which is international, which I sent you the Afropolitan, which is about creating, aggregating all these African merchants across the continent that are making all these items, jewelry, clothing, all these other things that a lot of Chinese and Indians, and they're buying them, relabeling them as their own, and so the African merchant doesn't get the benefit of their intellectual work, their creation. So what we're doing is we are doing mass trademarking copyright of their materials, and then offering them on Amazon US, Amazon UK, Amazon Canada, and Europe, and then selling them to this, how many billion people do e-commerce every day, shop online, because we believe that's the only way to get money to people.
Yes.
And it has to go to individuals, as you said. It has to.
Yes, Hope. Yes, I love you. I just, I feel like I can talk to you all day long, because another thing we talked about here all the time was if you're going to put up a shingle, black folks are some of the most creative people on earth. Yes. And there are folks who watch us online, right? Watch our products, watch what we're doing. Then they go and look at the trademark office and see if we trademarked our name, trademarked our product, and we did not. And then they go and they take it away from us. Before I put out a shingle, I trademarked everything, right?
Exactly.
So they can look, because if you touch my intellectual property, I'm coming for you with everything I got.
Right.
But
imagine
we've been
if we
taught
trademark all those African merchants, and then they have a legal recourse.
Yes,
Longhorn, they're selling their things here. So, I mean, I think I can't wait for this thing for us to launch, and I'll let you know. But I think it's going to make a significant difference to the lives of merchants across Africa. It's a Sullivan economics, right? It's crowdfunding. It's getting money into advance, and it's also training. We do training every year to help merchants with their e-commerce issues to get their stuff out there.
Well, it's clear to me that your father's skin did not leave your skin, because you're doing exactly what he was doing. I am so thrilled to hear all of this, and I need you to follow up with me. Let me know.
I will.
I am happy. So just so you're aware, Hope, we are going to be on my show, The Source, talking about your father once a month, every month until they tell me.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for keeping his name alive, his memory alive, his legacy alive, because it's so important. And, and they can go see Mabel Wellborn at the Trust and find out everything they want to know. She's got all the blueprints. She's got everything.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to get Mabel on the air. We were connecting. Listen, Mabel and I were emailing each other, and then COVID hit, right? And then all things went up into the air. But Mabel and I will reconnect, and we'll talk about all of these things, because it's clear now that even though you guys have been quiet, you're quietly doing the work. Another principle, right? Yes. Don't let everybody know what you're doing before it's done.
Oh, I learned that the hard way, my dear. Listen.
Yes.
I've been in some tall grass with some snakes. Yes, I understand now.
Oh, let me tell you. There's just some things we can't talk about on the air, Hope, but we will continue to talk. All right.
Great.
Yes. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation with me.
Thank you.
Thank you for being gracious. Thank you for telling me about the Jamaican part of your father, because that would make absolute sense.
You felt it. You knew it.
I did. I felt it, and I kept saying it. I said, "Ooh, this sounds like Jamaican. This sounds like. And then you confirmed it. So, and thank you for understanding that as a people, we really are fearless, right? We were raised to be fearless.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely. We didn't
Go ahead.
We didn't come across that middle passage with fear, and that's in us. It's still in our spirit. So.
Yep. So thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking to you. You have a good one. Okay? All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
So that was such a good conversation. I know I had some callers that hung up. I'd like you to call back in when you have a moment. This conversation with Hope Sullivan was important because there were many people who never met the Reverend Dr. Leon H. Sullivan, who I really want you to grasp his principles. When you hear me talking on the radio about what we should be doing in order to increase and advance our station in life as a people, this is what works, right? It is not the designer stuff. It is not talking about all the wonderful things you have. And learn to walk and operate in silence and in silos, so that people, not everybody, because when folks know what you're doing, because we're so creative as a people, they come and take what we own and walk away with it. Learn from the Reverend Dr. Leon H. Sullivan, okay? I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and you are listening to The Source. We will be right back after these messages.
The time is now to put an end to the chronic incompetence of Donald Trump and his League of Liars. Donald Trump makes a mockery of the institution of the presidency. He's polarized our country, and his dangerous policies must not continue. Joe Biden has the character, empathy, and experience to lead us through these challenging times. He helped lead the nation out of the 2008 financial crisis into the longest period of economic growth in our history, and he can do it again. As president, he will heal divisions and unite us around the shared values of justice. He'll create opportunities for quality education and good-paying jobs, and he'll build on the Affordable Care Act, not tear it down. While Donald Trump thinks coronavirus and climate change are a hoax, Joe Biden already has a coronavirus recovery plan and a strategy to create more jobs while also tackling the climate crisis. Vote for a president who will stand on the right side of history. Vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Paid for by Black PAC and Priorities USA Action. BlackPAC.com and PrioritiesUSAAction.org, which are responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Smith Play John is a new kids TV show produced by Smith Memorial Playground. Tune in Wednesdays at 3 p.m. on Comcast, Verizon, or PhillyCam.org for at-home play breaks, music time, story time, and to share your John. Details at smithplayground.org.
Hello, my name is Esteban Vera. I'm a proud union member and business manager of Labor's Local 57 in Philadelphia. I'd first like to thank every essential worker, union member that's working in the front lines day in and day out to keep us all Americans safe. Thank you so much. Now more than ever, it's so important that we get out to vote and make sure that we're registered to vote, that we get candidates in office that care about all Americans, not just corporations. We cannot let the last 4 years repeat itself. Our country cannot take no more. Our people cannot take no more. I beg everyone and plead to please get out to register to vote. Our lives, our children's lives, and our economy depends on it.
Don't forget to tune into Labor's Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. on WURD, WURD.
Have you heard about Penny? They make it easier than ever to get health coverage.
What if I'm self-employed?
Penny gets you covered.
Unemployed?
Penny gets you covered.
What about my family?
Penny gets them covered too.
But will this fit into my budget?
Penny can connect you to financial help to lower the cost.
Really? Where do I go?
Easy. Just go to PENNIE.com or call 1-844-844-8040.
This is WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDRadio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I have a couple of guests that are supposed to be calling in, and I'm going to take my callers now. But let me just read this to you. The media advisory from the Community College of Philadelphia. This morning at 11 o'clock, they had a community's Dr. Donald Guy Generals hosted a virtual discussion examining ideas and solutions to environmental inequalities in urban communities via Zoom. That happened already this morning. The panel explored the question, how do we remove unjust systems and health risks within the environment? And so education and training must be a part of the answer, and we must commit to act together. Dr. Donald Guy Generals is someone I met earlier. It was this spring or last spring. I can't remember now because all the springs are going in together. I think it was last spring in 2019. And he struck me immediately as a serious man who cared completely about his community. Everything that I thought we had an interview for about 25 minutes. It hit me in 3 minutes of interviewing him that he was very serious. Another person who was doing the work out here, right? And so Is It Safe to Breathe virtual panel that was hosted by Dr. Donald Guy Generals. The moderator was Jasmine E. Sessoms, another sharp, snazzy lady, Senior Vice President of Corporate Affairs. Panelists, State Rep Donna Bullock, 195 Legislative District, Salim Chapman, Deputy Director and Chief Resilience Officer, and Maurice Sampson, Eastern Pennsylvania Director of Clean Water Action. So that happened today at 11 a.m. When they send these things to me, I'm hoping that I'm on the air before they happen. Oh, am I still on? Oh, there we go. Whew, I thought I knocked myself off the air. Lord have mercy. So I just want to make sure that you all got that. Let me take these messages. Let me take these phone calls now. All right, hold on. Tell Anita, hold on 1 second. I'm going to get Anita because I can't wait to talk to her. I think Carrie's supposed to be on too. Let's see. Maurice from South Philly. Are you there?
Southwest. Get it right, mother.
Oh, excuse me, Maurice. How are you, my brother from Southwest Philly?
You know I'm stripping my way to the polls.
Oh, Maurice.
But let me tell you something. I just got finished this weekend handing out 15 flyers that say Vote or Die, and has a black man standing at the gallows with a bunch of white people looking at him on the flyer. It says Vote or Die. So that's what I'm doing in my neighborhood with the people on the bottom, letting them know what they need to do. I even got them inside. I put 200 flyers in each deli in my neighborhood and said, just put it in their bag.
Yes.
See, I'm doing. See, you know, when they talk these politics, they never talk about poor people. They always say middle class, but to us poor people, middle class people are rich.
Yes.
They don't understand that. See, they never talk about the poor ever, and nobody's conversation is always the middle class. Middle class is somebody that make $250,000 a year. That's middle class.
Yes.
We're at the poverty level.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But I've been listening to your show, and it's been great as usual. I have one suggestion. Get rid of one of your guests because people want to talk to you. People need to talk to you.
You are so right.
Your inspiration. I even heard a couple of young boys talking about you, but they can't get in on the line because you only take so many calls. Now, these are guys that don't even listen to the radio. So I'm like, how do you know Mother? They love, who you calling Mother? I mean, Miss Sanders. So I'm telling you, your voice is getting out there, but you got to leave a little more time for the callers or shorten up each person's call. Now, as far as the president and his, I would call them Republicans, but I call them his insane clown posse. Those guys need to be in fear, too, because we also need to know the down ballot guys got to go, too. If you're a Republican, you got to go. We got to reach out to people in Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, and once in a while, get one of them on as a guest to find out what the people in that region, what are they doing as far as getting out the vote. And, Mother, I want to leave it up to you because I can't do no better job than you. Remember, vote or die, or strip your way to the polls.
Maurice, so here's the deal, Maurice. I cut down from 50,000 guests to 3 guests in 3 hours. I don't know how else people are calling it, and I so appreciate all of you. So tell those cats to call back, okay? Tell them Mama will take them.
This is all the callers that call you. We actually meet on the street and talk to each other.
Really?
You know that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Me, George, and Miss Mary, we call each other every day.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
Look at that.
URD doesn't just have people with memberships. They have people that have become family from this radio. So they better start stepping up to the plate because they need to put us to work because we will work for free if they would give us a mission. That's all I got to say.
Come on now. Thank you so much, honey. You have a good one, okay? All right, bye-bye. Brother Spread Love, quickly, honey, how are you?
Give God the glory, Mama Andrea. How do I stay, Mama?
I good, you know. How you doing?
Give God the glory, Mama. First and foremost, we say give thanks, you know? And give thanks for showcase the Honorable Reverend Dr. Leon Sullivan. You see what I said?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes,
Mama.
Sir.
Good interview. Remember me did tell you know? Jamaica, everyone Jamaican. Remember me did say so.
Yes, sir.
All
What's
right.
up?
And God bless Brother Mike on the boards. You know he's always doing a great job.
Michael is amazing.
All the victims, everyone working to make it better. I'm going to keep it brief, Mama, but a couple things I'd like to touch on. Number one, can you share with the people how they can register to vote online since today's the last day that can be done?
Yes.
All right. Number two, you know today Frankie P. Earthstrong, Frankie Paul, and Peter Tosh, same day. So big place from Frankie Paul and Peter Tosh for the people them, all right?
All right, will do. Okay.
Next part. I hear people talking, and I'm not mad at them, but they equate our situation with science fiction and comic books. Mama, this is real life. John gave us scripture that applies to everything that's happening right now. We don't got to use Hollywood. We can read it with our own eyes, all right? Yes. And as far as them looking for solutions, tell them Selassie, Jah, Rastafari, and solve everything we're going. See?
Yes, brother, spread love. You have a good one, okay?
And Mama, one more thing.
All right.
All right? Maybe about 2 months ago, I'm the first person I heard say this. You know why so many strippers show up at the elections?
What is up with the strippers today? Okay, how many
I'm going to tell you why people started saying this.
Why?
About a month ago. I said this on the radio, or maybe 2 months ago. I don't remember. But now I know there's a lot of people saying it, but they ain't talking about me. But anyway, I'm going to tell them where they got it from. You know why so many strippers showing up at the elections?
Why, sir?
Because they paying poll workers. I'm going to leave it at that.
You know what? Goodbye. Michael! I cannot. The WURD listeners are hilarious. Oh, my gosh. So let me move on to my next guest. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and these two ladies are people that I have watched and admired for years. First, Anita T. Connor. Anita, are you there?
No.
Is Carrie with you?
I just spoke with her. She's supposed to get on another line.
Okay.
Let me check.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay, because I want to talk to the both of you. She just put me on hold. I love this show. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so while I'm waiting for Anita to come back with Carrie, let's see if we can figure this out. I want to read something to you that's Trump's den of dissent inside the White House task force as coronavirus surges, right? There's a lot of stuff happening here. Pay attention, because as we get closer to the elections, all sorts of crazy things are going to happen. October 19th, this was done today at 6 a.m. It was written by Yasmin Abu Taleb, Philly Rucker, and Josh Dawsey, and Robert Costa. Wow, 4 people wrote this article. As summer faded into autumn and the novel coronavirus continued to ravage the nation unabated, Scott Atlas, a neuroradiologist whose commentary on Fox News led President Trump to recruit him to the White House, consolidated his power over the government's pandemic response. Pay attention, people. Listen to what Mo was getting ready to say. Atlas shot down attempts to expand testing. He openly feuded with other doctors on the coronavirus task force and succeeded in largely sidelining them. He advanced fringe theories such as that social distancing and mask wearing were meaningless and would not have changed the course of the virus in several hard-hit areas. And he advocated allowing infections to spread naturally among most of the population while protecting most vulnerable and those in nursing homes until the United States reaches herd immunity, which experts say would cause excess deaths, according to 3 current and former senior administration officials. This was deliberate, y'all. It was deliberate to let all these people die. Let me see what Michael's saying. Okay, hold on for a second. Let me finish this article, Michael, and then I'll get to them, because I love these 2 women, and I don't want to interrupt them. Atlas, who Trump took from Fox News, also cultivated Trump's affection with his public assertions that the pandemic is nearly over, despite death and infection counts showing otherwise, and his willingness to tell the public that a vaccine could be developed before the November 3rd election, despite clear indications of a slower timeline. Atlas's ascendancy was apparent during a recent Oval Office meeting. After Trump left the room, Atlas startled other aides by walking behind the resolute desk and occupying the president's personal space to keep the meeting going, according to one senior administration official. Atlas called this account false and laughable. Discord on the coronavirus task force has worsened since the arrival in late summer of Atlas, whose colleagues say they regard as ill-informed, manipulative, and at times dishonest. Dear Lord. As the White House coronavirus response coordinator, Deborah Burst is tasked with collecting and analyzing infection data and compiling charts detailing upticks and other trends. But Atlas routinely has challenged Burst's analysis and those of other doctors, including Dr. Anthony S. Fauci, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Director Robert Redfield, and Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Stephen Hahn, with what the other doctors considered junk science, according to 3 other senior administration officials. Certified public accountants and financial services. They call themselves the tax divas. Yes, honey. She has a book called Check Out, My Mommy Has Breast Cancer, But She Is Okay. And Anita T. Connor, CPA, MS Tax, managing partner, with a background in accounting, taxation, financial planning, insurance, and investments. I don't want to get too much into their CPA portion of this bios, because when I tell you 2 amazing women, Carrie and Anita, are you both there?
Yes.
Good afternoon, pretty people.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us.
Oh, you are quite welcome. So Carrie has been on social media posting so much as a direct result, not just about Breast Cancer Month, but she's been online all year long, just talking about breast cancer and what it has meant to her and her family. Can either one or both of you now describe what breast cancer has done to impact your family and what you're doing as a result of all of that?
Sure. Well, as I don't know if everyone knows, but my mother, she actually is a 22-year breast cancer survivor, and she was diagnosed, I guess, in 1998 at the age of 41 with a very advanced stage of breast cancer. And at that time, no one was really talking about the disease. We didn't know much about the disease. And as a result, we learned that black women were dying at greater rates than any other ethnic group from breast cancer. And so as a way to support her and also as a way to educate our community, we started Praises the Cure. And our mission at Praises the Cure is really to eliminate the disparity as it relates to black women and breast cancer. My mother, as a result of her getting sick, she ended up having to do a clinical trial. And we talk a lot about clinical trials because in the field of breast cancer and just I guess medicine as a whole, we do not really participate in clinical trials. So the doctors don't know much about us when it's time to actually treat us. And so I like to bring that up in all of my conversations because I really do want to encourage everyone, if they do have an opportunity, to participate in clinical trials. But my mother did everything that the doctors told her to do. It was a very tough process for her. But lo and behold, she's here with us today, and we are so thankful. Yes. But when she was 10 years cancer-free, I was actually diagnosed at the age of 33 with also an advanced stage of breast cancer. And neither one of us carried the gene. But I also had a very aggressive tumors. I actually ended up having 3. And again, we did everything that the doctors told us to do. I did everything that the doctors told me to do. And I was 9 years cancer-free. And then in 2017, I was re-diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. So the breast cancer, it really has impacted our family greatly, starting with my mom and then also with me. But as we tell everyone, breast cancer doesn't just affect the patient, it affects the family as well. Right. And so we just try to do everything that we can to educate the community and let the community know that breast cancer is not a death sentence.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. You have been such an angelic voice in all of this. So I've been watching you. I haven't said much until I jumped on your page and I said, okay, it's time for me to interview you and your mother, because I believe the two of you may be able to save way more lives than you have done up to this point if we have a much larger platform, if we continue to focus on letting people know. You said something that struck me. Neither one of you carried the gene for breast cancer. Could it be something environmental? Did anybody try to figure that out?
Well, the science or the research that has been done, they believe that some of it could be environmental. It could be related to our health, our habits, our weight, our habits. A lot of it, some of it has to do with, just not getting the screenings that we need to get and doing self-exams on a regular basis. We kind of put that off. So when you kind of factor all that in, just not having the money to do the things, and that's not an excuse anymore because there's so much free services out there. But yes, environmental, is considered one of the factors, that could be attributing to us getting breast cancer at much more aggressive stages than other ethnic groups, because we are getting, when we get it at much more advanced stages than other ethnic groups, and that's one of the reasons why we're dying. more frequently than other ethnic groups is because, we're getting it at such advanced stages. So all those things kind of play a factor into us, being impacted greater than any other ethnic group.
Mm-hmm. And so you started Praise is the Cure. I learned about Praise is the Cure in Salem Baptist Church, right? And at that point, that's when I learned about Carrie. And you two, as a mother and daughter team, are incredibly close. Anyone with eyes can see that. And you have been very open in sharing what's been going on in your family as you fight this horrific disease. What advice do you have for people now who are in the same space, right, that don't feel like they have hope? You started Praise is the Cure. What does Praise is the Cure do for the general public or for people who are fighting breast cancer? Let us know what it's about, please.
Carrie, you want to go ahead?
Oh, yeah, I can talk first. Well, I know in terms of myself, there's no way that I could have gotten through to this stage in my life without having faith and without having something to believe in. And I do believe that, even though all these things are happening and, I may have bad days, I also have good days, but I do believe that God puts us here for a purpose. And I believe that it's my purpose to show people that, yes, you can get knocked down, but you can also get back up, and that you have to just have faith, and you have to believe, and just never give up. And that's one of the things I try to instill in my children, and just also let people know that, as I said earlier, breast cancer is not a death sentence, and it doesn't have to get to the stage that I'm at. You can be diagnosed at a much earlier stage where your treatment process is maybe less vigorous, but I do believe that your attitude has a lot to do with your healing as well. And so we have to continue to stay positive and keep our heads up and keep focused and just really keep encouraging one another to take care of ourselves. We have a My Sister's Keepers program. And ask your girlfriend, did you get your mammogram? I know especially with COVID right now, people don't want to go out and get their mammograms, but you have to. It's a must. Our families are depending on us, and it's completely safe to do that. And so that's what Praise is the Cure, one of the things Praise is the Cure tries to do, and I'll let my mom continue.
But Anita, let me ask you this, Anita, because Carrie was 33 when she was diagnosed, correct?
Yes.
Right, okay. So the average age that they ask women to start getting mammograms is what?
It's 40 and
that's
and
what I
45.
thought.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Yeah, so in our communities, that's why you have to be very vigilant. You have to be your own advocate. I was actually diagnosed finally at age 41. I was misdiagnosed. I had found a lump much earlier, and again, back then we weren't talking about breast cancer, but my doctor kept telling me, yeah, there's a lump there, but it's not a cancerous lump, And then I had an ultrasound. It's like, yeah, there's a lump there, but it's not the shape of a cancerous lump. So, you're trusting your doctors, and lo and behold, by the time, I went to a surgeon to have this lump removed, he was like, you know what, I need to do a biopsy. And it turned out to be, that's why it was at such an advanced stage, and my treatment plan was very, very radical, which included stem cell transplant, high-dose chemotherapy. I had a radical mastectomy, total hysterectomy. I mean, I went through and through, but, God is good. I'm still here to share my story. And I have to encourage women is that we have to be diligent. We have to do our self-breast exams. We have to go to the doctors. If you have a family history, not just your mom, it could be your sister, it could be your aunt, you are a candidate for getting mammograms early. Carrie started getting mammograms at the age of 29 because of my diagnosis. Right. So we have to know, this is the information we're trying to get out there, is that we have to let our women know that, you can get mammograms early. There's a lot of free resources out there. We can help you navigate that system and refer you for free mammograms or other screenings. So money is not an excuse anymore, but you have to be your own advocate. You have to take charge of your body. You have to do those self-breast exams. I know back in the day when I was little, they used to slap you on your hand when you touch yourself. But, we have to do our own self-breast exams, and we have to know our bodies. And if you see anything out of the ordinary. You need to get it checked right away and be your own advocate. Don't let them tell you that, you don't meet the age criteria, because, you do. If you feel something, you need to get it checked.
Thank you for saying that, Anita. Thank you for normalizing our body parts too. It's one of the things that we're going to be talking about more often on this show, because we tell a lot of people, you can't talk about that, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that. And when doctors tell us things, we go, okay. I have fired more doctors than the law would allow. I'm trying to tell you, because I'm like, listen, nope, not doing that, nope, not doing that, nope, 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 nope. And if they don't take me serious, and I've been telling folks, I fire people. If they're not taking you serious, then you don't feel well. Anita, a woman called me, and Carrie, a woman called me last week, a Jamaican woman who went to go see a doctor that I recommended to her. And the doctor looked in her eyes and saw that she was this close to a heart attack. And that woman said she had gone to the hospital and was staying in the hospital, telling them something was wrong with her heart. And they kept telling her she was crazy and that she needed to go see a neurologist. She had heart blockages. She was this close to a heart attack, right? Yep. And so we have to learn how to go against the grain. And it can be hard, because medical professionals can be so condescending. Right? Yeah. I'm hoping that you guys are also doing conversations with medical professionals, because it's the way they talk to us, it's the way they treat us, it's the way they don't listen.
Right. They don't listen. So Praise and Secure, we educate the community. We provide literature, workshops, seminars. We also provide access to mammogram screening, mammograms and other screenings for those of you who need help with that navigation, or need, if you're uninsured or underinsured, we can help you get those screenings and help you navigate that process. And then for those of our breast cancer patients and survivors and their families, we provide support services. So if you know someone who needs support, do they need a meal? Do they just need, someone to talk to? They need some guidance. We are there for them. We have a huge network of breast cancer survivors and volunteers. So we are here to support our community, whether it's the patient, the survivor, the spouse, or the significant other, or the children. Carrie wrote that book, My Children. My mommy has breast cancer, but she's okay, because the whole family is impacted when we're going through not just breast cancer, but any disease, and we have to learn how to communicate with each other to get through this.
Yes. I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to come back and you tell us how can people reach Praise is the Cure, because I'm sure there are folks who would like to know. Hang on 1 second, please, okay? You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Donald Trump hasn't grown into the job because he can't. And the consequences of that failure are severe. Millions of jobs gone, while those at the top taken more than ever. Our worst impulses unleashed, and our democratic institutions threatened like never before.
We need a leader ready for the job. Joe Biden. Make a plan to vote. Our lives depend on it.
Paid for by Ask Me People, which is responsible for the content of this ad. AskMePeople.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
WURD Radio presents the following information to help you navigate the upcoming election.
This is Charles Ellison, host of Reality Check on WURD. Are you a Philly area voter who received your mail-in ballot but suddenly decided you want to vote in person? If you return your complete ballot to the county election office by October 27th, you may not vote in person on Election Day. However, if you don't return your complete mail-in ballot to your county before October 27th, you can go to a polling place, surrender your unvoted ballot and voter's declaration envelope, sign a statement, and vote on the machines. Keep following us at onWURD on Twitter, Facebook.com/4WURD, and #WordOnPolitics for constant updates on election 2020. And remember, vote early.
Stay informed and vote. For more from Charles Ellison, tune in Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. or visit WURDradio.com.
Joe Biden insulted millions of black Americans.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Worse, Biden wrote the mass incarceration laws that destroyed a generation of black families. Listen to Biden's racist rhetoric.
We have no choice but to take them out of society.
Away from my mother,
your husband, our families. Lock the SOBs up.
Biden's policies were so harmful that Senator Cory Booker called him an architect of mass incarceration. Millions of black lives devastated by Biden's policies.
Take a look at my record, man.
We did, and we've had enough. Joe Biden spent years hurting the black community. He insulted us, jailed us. We must not elect him president.
I'm Donald Trump, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Donald J. Trump for President, Inc.
If you're thinking of voting by mail this election, remember that it's safe, it's secure, and it counts. But there are a few things to keep in mind. While the application deadline is October 27th, you should apply now and send your ballot back as early as possible, before November 3rd. When it comes to sending it back, you can drop it in the mail, use a designated drop box, or return it to a satellite election office. To find one or for more information, visit PhiladelphiaVotes.com.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDRadio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you are just joining us, we have on the line Kerry Connor Matchett and Anita T. Connor. We're talking about Praise is the Cure and how breast cancer has impacted more black women than the law really should allow because of all sorts of factors that are around us. And so these phenomenal women I happen to know personally and really wanted to let you, the WURD listeners, hear from them so that you can make educational choices and decisions around what to do. Because every day, what are the stats around black women being diagnosed with breast cancer? Do either one of you know?
Our occurrences are pretty similar to white women. So we get the disease at about the same rate as white women do, but we are dying at 41% higher rate than white women. Wow. So even though we get it about the same, we're dying at a much higher rate, almost two times to one.
Oh, wow. All right, so talk to us about how people can reach Praise is the Cure if they need help and support.
Sure, they can go right to our website, which is www.praiseisthecure.org, and they can also reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram, and our telephone number is 215-635-1025. And again, it's 215-635-1025. And you can always also send us an email at info@praiseisthecure.org.
Praise is the Cure. I want to make sure that I have all of this because I will let folks know. Anita.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Your daughter is phenomenal.
Thank you.
What do you want the world to know about Kerry? While she's sitting here on the line listening to us talk about her.
Kerry is my hero, I tell you. I mean, I had a tough time dealing with breast cancer years and years and years ago because I was diagnosed at an advanced stage and went through a clinical trial, which was very rigorous. But Kerry, she has my children were grown. My youngest was in high school. Kerry has 2 young children. She has endured this disease twice and now is dealing with metastatic breast cancer and still, she pushes forward. She don't miss a day. She's in the office all the time working, dealing with clients and running with her children. She is just my hero. I'm so blessed. She's been such a blessing and encouraging, not just to, her family, but to, others, breast cancer patients and survivors out there.
What does metastatic breast cancer mean for those who don't understand it? Because I always try when I'm on WURD to not assume that people know everything we're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? Because there are plenty of women living with metastatic breast cancer.
Right. Metastatic breast cancer is breast cancer it's cancer that has spread to other parts of the body. Currently, there is no cure for metastatic breast cancer. So, you know how some people get maybe like a regimen. They might have, maybe 12 chemo treatments. I don't have an end in sight in terms of my treatment process. And so I'll watch very closely. I have scans this week just to make sure that the tumors don't come back or that they don't get any bigger. So metastatic breast cancer is basically stage 4. There's no cure, and again, it's spread to other parts of the body.
Okay, that's what that is. Okay, so I have, I don't know, Anita, do you know Kaki Evans?
The name doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, all right. So there's a woman that was diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer back in the 90s, and she still continues to take chemo to this day. They told her she wouldn't, she didn't think she was going to live past a certain point, and her son is now the age of my oldest son, who's 28, and she is still here. So I know that we can live with all forms. It's just having family members that love you and care for you and make sure that you're getting all the care that you need, and your faith is incredibly important too. So Carrie, we're holding you up in the light, honey, in the light, because you have been just amazing in all of this. And I see you out there when before COVID hit and we couldn't be around each other anymore. And how does COVID impact someone like you, Carrie, who is constantly under treatment and being watched? Do you have to be super, super careful?
Yeah, I have to be super careful, but I say everyone has to be super careful right now.
Yes, yes, you're right.
We just all have to be diligent in not only taking care of ourselves, but making sure, other people don't get sick as well. So I just do the same due diligence as everyone else, yeah.
And for a mother with young children, what advice do you have for moms who are dealing with breast cancer, or family members who are dealing with breast cancer with young children? Because you're doing it. I'm watching you.
I would say, a lot of people say, it's easy to be down, and it's easy to be sad. And I think that it's okay to do that, but I also I would say you can't stay in that place.
Right.
You can go ahead and be sad for a second and kind of think about what's going on, and you're not going to have the best days all the time, but you got to get up and you got to get moving, because, your children are watching you. They're watching everything that you do, and I just want my children to know that I just never gave up.
Yes. How can we find the book, My Mommy Has Breast Cancer, But She's Okay?
You can get it right from our website, which is www.praisesthecure.org, and it is also on Amazon as well.
Is there anything else that you two phenoms can tell us that you'd like us to know before we say goodbye today?
I would just like to reiterate that, breast cancer is not a death sentence, that we do have to make time to take care of ourselves, and to just kind of check on, our other sisters and brothers, and just to believe just that things that don't seem possible, that they are.
Yes, ma'am. And Anita?
Yes. Well, I just want everyone to know that breast cancer is not a death sentence, and it does take a village, and, we all need to continue to support and uplift, and men do get breast cancer.
Yes.
So I want to encourage our men
yes.
as well to, do their self-exams, and if they think they need to get additional testing to get their mammograms. They do mammograms for men, so men do get breast cancer as well. But, as a community, as a family, cancer, breast cancer, any kind of cancer is not a death sentence. We just have to be vigilant, and how we manage our health and take care of ourselves, especially us women, because we take care of everybody else before we take care of ourselves, and we put it off, and put it off, and then, it gets to some point where, then God just kind of puts us down and say, okay, you don't want to take care of yourself, I'll take care of you. So, we do have to take care of ourselves.
All right, Carrie Connor Matchett and Anita T. Connor, you are both, I don't know. The two of you have always been women that I looked up to and admired, and no more so than during Breast Cancer Month, when you've just always been the light and the candle for so many people. You're offering free meals, offering hope, offering to take people to get their mammograms done. You're just doing it all. with everything else that you have going on. And you run a thriving accountant business, honey. Oh, hunty. The tax divas are right up there on 611. Can't pass down Jenkintown without seeing their beautiful black faces. Yes, cooperative economics. So I just, I pray that all continues to stay well with the both of you. If there's anything else I can do to support and help you all, highlight anything that you're doing, please let us know here on The Source, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good afternoon.
Okay, take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. My black people. I love my black people. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? I love white people too, but Lord, black people just go through all kinds of things. We are being diagnosed with alacrity, colon cancer, breast cancer, all sorts of things going on. And you cannot tell me that it is not related in some parts, not just to the environment that we are in, and the food that we eat, but stress. Stress kills, y'all. And so I tell people this all the time. Folks laugh when I say, between the hours, I get up at 4 o'clock every morning. I pray, I do some meditation, I talk to God, and then by 6 o'clock, I'm out the door and I'm on my bicycle. It is non-negotiable for me to be interrupted while I'm communing and not only getting my health together, but my well-being together, right? For years, I've exercised. The 1 year I stopped exercising, my blood sugar levels went up and I got diabetes, right? So I have to remember that if I don't take care of myself, then everything else is going to start falling apart. And that's the thing that we tell you guys all the time. Kerry and Anita did what they needed to do. And so, when you go to the doctor and the doctor poo-poos you or tell you you don't know what you're talking about, when a doctor says to me, I am the expert here, and looks at me with disdain, I make a check mark, and they never see me again. Goodbye. You are the weakest link, And until in the medical profession, doctors start to pay attention to people of color and give them the same due diligence that they would give other people, there's a tendency to think that we don't know what we're talking about or we're not smart enough. Take this myth out of your head that we're not smart people. If you're stealing all our ideas and looking at everything that we've done and you're emulating the way we dress, emulating the way we do our hair, emulating the way we do everything else, what makes you think you really don't believe we're stupid, right? And so it's all part of the tactics by some folks to just hold us back, and we're not having it anymore. We will fire you. We will tell you goodbye. So start to pay attention to our health and well-being. In medical school, start having those conversations and telling folks, listen, y'all are going to be without some black folks, although there are doctors who don't want to have black patients either. So you have to feel out your doctors the same way they're feeling you out. You have to feel them out too. And if it does not feel like a good fit, walk away. Just walk away. Husa, Andrea. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Hi, my name is Dr. Blake. If you're out there with residual baby fat and you want that waistline back, Smart Lipo Laser is for you at Blake GI Med Spa Services. It is affordable, minimally invasive, minimum discomfort, minimum downtime, and no loose skin. You will see results in 24 hours. Give us a call at Blake GI Med Spa Services today, 215-849-4902.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour work day, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
Reverend Tyler, with November 3rd around the corner, do you know how you'll be voting this year?
Dr. Callahan, I requested my mail-in ballot, and I'm returning it the day it comes in the mail.
That's perfect, because we can't leave anything to chance this year.
Already received your mail-in ballot? You're just a few simple steps away from turning your mailbox into a ballot box. Here's how. After selecting your candidates, place your marked ballot into the small secrecy envelope and seal it. It's a 2-envelope process, so then you'll place the small secrecy envelope into the larger one. Make sure to seal that one too. Sign and date it, and then it's as simple as dropping it in your mailbox, no postage necessary, or returning it to your county election office. And if you still want to sign up to vote by mail or find out where to drop off your mail-in ballot, visit votespa.com.
I'm not waiting until November 3rd. I'm returning my mail-in ballot the day it comes in the mail.
Or you can return your ballot to your county election office.
I've got my plan. Make your plan to vote today.
Paid for by Power Interfaith.
Always Best Care is a great place to work. Flexibility,
leadership, purpose,
great benefits.
There's never a dull moment.
Diversity, inclusion, compasión.
We love our jobs. If you're looking for a great place to work, you can join our compassionate Team Green. You can apply online at teamgreenabc.com or call 267-909-9248.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you are just joining us, I just got off the line with Kerry Connor Matchett and her mom, Anita T. Connor. And so now I'm going to take Gary. Gary, are you there?
Yes, how are you, Andrea?
I'm good, sir. What's going on?
I had to call in. I was listening to your segment on breast cancer, and I lost my mother to breast cancer. And my mother was a really strong black woman. She didn't even let on that she was having issues. So when I started taking her to her doctor's appointments, and I'm still trying to figure out what's going on, but she would not tell me. She comes out of the doctor's office, Andrea, and we're walking down the hall, and she says, "Oh, well, I got it." And I stopped. And I said, "Do you mean you got it?" And she said, "I have breast cancer." She says, "Let's go get something to eat." And we went out to breakfast, and I was like dumbfounded. I was just shocked. And I'm looking at her like it's no big deal. She's acting like it's no big deal. Long story short, fast forward, she met my wife before she was my wife. My wife and I were dating, and my mother was very upfront. She said, "Gary," and she told my wife at the time, well, before she was my wife, "This is the one for you." My wife and I have been married 26 years now. My mother, I miss her every day because even though she was a single parent, she taught me to be a man too. I had uncles and other male figures, but she would not let me be weak. My mother passed away 2 months before I got married, and she never got to see my sons. And to this day, I still kind of agonize over that because they would have loved her. But I just had to call in and just speak on how strong our black women are, Andrea, and you're one of those women. That's why I love your show and your segment. Man, a man that has a good wife, a good woman, he's blessed. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. And thank you for reminding me, because oftentimes people say, well, we don't want to talk about these things. Well, we have to talk about these things. We have to talk about it, Gary, because when we don't talk about it and we operate in silence, we're dying. We're dying at alarming rates, and we want to be able to help people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Gary,
yeah.
Yeah, so, man, you hang in there, all right? And just remember, as much as you think that I am helping you, you're listening, all of you calling in and talking to me and encouraging me, because some days, I am real open and transparent with all of you. Some days it's tough. Some days I get up and I'm like, oh, and this election has been something else, And so I have decided to stay authentic with all of you so that you'll understand that, I'm not walking around like I'm some superhero, like all is well. Stress kills, right? And the more I let it off, the better off we all will be, so that I can continue to be a great host for all of you, okay?
And I just wanted to say, may God continue to bless you and your family. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You have a good one, okay? All right, bye-bye.
Yes.
Oh, Lord, the WURD listeners are trying their best to make Mother cry today. I'm just loving you all. So I want to read something to you. The elderly in this country is not treated well either, right? we tend to discard the elderly. And when we hear people talking about this kind of stuff, about herd immunity, there were a couple of senators who actually got on the air and said, if the old people would just let themselves die, catch the virus and die, we can develop herd immunity. And if we let the young people catch it, they'll give it to other people and we'll develop herd immunity. When did human lives become expendable, And I noticed quite a bit that elderlies are not given the same love and care after raising children and putting them through school and working all those hours. I wish somebody would. So Signe Jorgensen from the Washington Post wrote this article, this opinion article. My elderly father spent 36 hours searching for urgent hospital care. It was entirely preventable. COVID-19 recently became more than an abstraction for my father. He wasn't diagnosed with the disease, but he did spend several days crisscrossing central Wisconsin in search of a hospital bed and a doctor to provide the urgent care he needed. Not long ago, I awoke at 12:20 a.m. to a phone call no daughter wants to receive. My elderly father, a dementia patient who resides at a memory care facility in Wisconsin Rapids, had fallen, hit his head, and was bleeding profusely. He was on his way to the local emergency room all alone. After waiting hours to see a doctor, he was sent back to his nursing home at 6 a.m. following a short observation and a "we think he's fine" diagnosis. These doctors, we've got to do better. It's not enough to just become skilled at diagnosing what's happening with people, but the thought processes around working with us, we've got the godlike complexes has got to stop, because we've got to listen to our patients. However, his condition soon worsened and he returned to the ER. He didn't know his name, he couldn't respond to commands, and he couldn't stay awake. On his second night in the ER, the wait to see a doctor was more than 6 hours. Soon after my dad arrived, ambulances began lining up to unload their patients. I rushed to my hometown and slept in my childhood bedroom just blocks from the hospital, as I couldn't join my father because of COVID-19 protocols. He waited to be seen, scared and alone, asking for his family and not understanding why his wife and daughters weren't with him. I heard siren after siren heading towards the hospital overnight, but I didn't receive any updates on his condition because the hospital staff was so overwhelmed. In the span of 36 hours, my dad spent approximately 16 hours in the emergency room. He took 5 ambulance rides across the region. He received 4 diagnoses at 3 separate hospitals. He had 0 family members present. I received 0 calls from the hospitals without me calling them first. My father's condition worsened due to the stress and anxiety of being transported with no understanding of what was happening or why. I don't fault the hospitals or medical staff for any of this. They did the best they could under incredibly challenging circumstances, but I do blame COVID-19. No, that's not right. I blame the people who have not taken COVID-19 seriously. I blame the people who refuse to wear masks at the gas station, the grocery store, the political rally, the people who have knowingly, proudly sent their children to school after a COVID-19 diagnosis, the people who laugh at science, who cram into the bars, fill the church pews, and have parties in their backyards without masks or social distancing, the people who think safety protocols don't apply to them. American hospitals generally operate close to capacity. They're not empty buildings that wait for a pandemic. When a crisis hits, it only takes a handful of extra patients to throw them into panic mode and bring the healthcare system to its knees. As a result, medical professionals are struggling to respond not only to COVID-19, but also to car accidents, pneumonia, gunshot wounds, broken bones. Everyone suffers. This is happening right now in Wisconsin and elsewhere across the nation. This is happening to our parents, our spouses, our children, our friends, and it is all preventable. My dad lost 36 hours being shuffled between facilities that couldn't admit him. If not for COVID-19, however, he probably would have had a bed at the local hospital right away. He would have received the proper care immediately. His family would have been there to reassure him, and I would not have wondered when I would next see my father to say, "I love you." It would be so easy for each of us to do our part and change the course of this pandemic. Things would be different if we wore our masks and stayed home as much as possible. Lord have mercy. If we assumed we were asymptomatic and potentially spreading the virus. If we took advice from medical professionals instead of politicians. If we acted with compassion instead of playing roulette with a contagious virus. Even if we don't contract COVID-19, you might need medical attention. Hospitals are full in much of Wisconsin and elsewhere. This unpleasant fact means people can't get the care they need, regardless of whether they have COVID-19. We all have COVID-19 fatigue. I know. I have it too. We are tired of changing routines, canceling vacations, missing family events, attending school and meetings via Zoom. But as much as we hate it, sacrifice is the only way to return to normalcy. If we keep on like we have been, your loved one could be the next person taking 5 ambulance rides before receiving proper medical treatment. Consider yourself warned. I've read that piece to you because it matters. It absolutely matters. We talk a lot about it's not affecting me. I'm outside, I'm exercising, I can't feel it. If a virus is spreading across the air, whether you're inside or out, it's the same thing. Wear your masks. I'm not telling you don't have your party because people want to do what they're going to do. But what I am saying to you is if you're going to have your party, even if you're outdoors, wear your masks. If you're around somebody, if they're family members and you haven't seen them in weeks or months because of COVID-19, assume that you don't know what they have and wear your masks. If you are, you go to see your loved one, like I went to see my sister yesterday in Virginia, and I wore my mask. We wore our masks, right? We didn't assume because we were siblings that we were safe and okay. The level of apathy around this virus is astounding. You want to send your child to school and your child is running a fever, make sure that your child stays home. Don't say something like, my child is going to be okay. We still do not know the long-term impacts of this virus. Every single time we have this conversation, we keep saying to all of you, practice the safety protocols. I could not walk into the Apple store without getting my temperature checked. The fact of the matter is, we should not be able to walk into any organization, any building, anywhere without having our temperature checked. I couldn't walk through the stalls to get to the flea market, the farmer's market that I ran into in Virginia without having my hands cleaned and my temperature checked. If we have to continue to understand that the protocols doesn't just apply to some people, it applies to all of us. If we want to get back to normalcy, if we want to be able to do the things that we need to do and we say we want to do, and we want to continue to make money and have a quality of life, sacrifice is necessary, right? It's not a cute thing that we just say in the Bible or in the Quran or whatever else we believe in. Sacrifice means just that, right? And so we have to stop and think about the long-term effects of everybody around us, not just what we want in that moment. I want to go inside a restaurant and sit down and eat. I haven't done that and I can't tell you how long, and I will not. If I'm going to eat, I sit outside or I get the food. More than likely, Mother's cooking her food and enjoying it in her house, right? Think about these people. We're sitting, I watched people just walking outside at the Apple store the other day. This man kept dropping his mask. The man said, sir, your temperature is fine, but if your mask keeps coming down, you will not be able to come into this store. You have to think about not just, well, you know, it's just, sir, if you don't put your mask up, you cannot come into the store. And so he grudgingly put his mask up, right? But you have to think about the employees that are working there that have to go home to their family members too. All of those things make a difference. It's not just the people that are working with you and for you, but the people that they live with. If my husband develops COVID-19, I don't know a soul on earth that could tell me anything that would make me feel better. Not after all the safety regards that we're taking. So I can do the best that I can. You can do the best that you can, but you must also talk to the people around you. And if folks are determined not to wear their masks, then you must be determined to sacrifice and not see them. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
It's easier than ever to get the right health coverage for families of all sizes.
This is Bonnie, Ronnie, Tani, Johnny.
Penny gets you covered. Millennials, gig workers, virtual birthday partiers.
Grandma, you're on mute.
Penny gets you all covered. Penny helps you compare plans, get financial assistance, and purchase health insurance that fits your life. Get covered at PENNIE.com or call 1-844-844-8040.
Need a new mattress? Stop by to see Julian, the Mattress Man, located at 7421 Stenton Avenue. You deal directly with the owner, Julian, to ensure the best prices on name brand mattresses like Sealy, Posturepedic. Call 215-424-5550. That's 215-424-5550.
What's up, everyone? I know you know the word, no, not the station, but this word, J-O-B that is, and our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they are hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days employment. Call 856-754-0355 or visit amorososbaking.com for details.
Joe likes to say that character is on the ballot, and it's true. But let's be clear, this election is about building this country back better. And that's exactly what Joe and I will do. Bring back critical supply chains so the future is made in America. Build on the Affordable Care Act. And finally, offer caregivers the dignity, the respect, and the pay they deserve. Will protect a woman's right to make her own decisions about her own body, root out systemic racism in our justice system, and pass a new Voting Rights Act that will ensure every voice is heard and every voice is counted. We have a chance to choose a better future for our country.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Livelihood, the new initiative from WURD Radio, connecting Philadelphians to jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey.
Work, 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 work. You send me out the work.
Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Before I take my final guest for the day, which means the WURD listeners, you can call as much as you want to. I need to remind you again that today is the last day to register to vote in Pennsylvania. The Philadelphia City Commissioners are holding a Get Out the Vote drive at 52nd and Market Streets. At 5 more locations opening today, voters can drop off their mail-in ballots, but residents cannot register to vote there. Those 5 locations are the Riverview Place, 520 Columbus Boulevard, Joseph H. Brown School, 3600 Stanwood Street, Harding Middle School, 2000 Wakeland Street, Mossbaum High School, 3116 Frankfurt Avenue, and Feltonville Intermediate School, 238 East Wyoming Avenue. Or if any of these sites are close enough to where you now currently reside, please be sure to know that they're now open and you can take your ballots, your mail-in ballots there. But you cannot register to vote there. So go online to register to vote, please. Cy Phoenix Inmate Group teams up with Philly nonprofit and Bucks for Bullets buyback program. It's interesting that I'm looking at this because Evan Burton reached out to me last week. They will be on The Source to talk about it. Philadelphia's Fights Institute for Community Justice is working with the Man Up Association, a support organization developed for and by men in prison to get guns off the street with a new buyback effort. The gun buyback and Bucks for Bullet event is October 24th from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Moore's Memorial Baptist Church at 1421 West Dolphin Street. And more details are available at fight.org. The effort is coordinated by Philadelphia's Fights Institute for Community Justice, the Philadelphia Police Department's 22nd District, and the Man Up Association. The contact is Asata Thomas, Director of the Institute for Community Justice. So those are there. So here we go, moving right along. I am excited to talk. Oh, I see it, Chi. Brianna did give it to me. I'm excited to speak with our next guest. I got it, Chi. She can hear me. Dahlia Tarver. Dahlia is an ambitious young woman with a hunger for change. She is a poet, a writer, the co-founder of her high school's first Black Empowerment magazine, as well as a literature editor for the school's literary magazine. Dahlia believes that it is our duty as human beings to combat inequities in our society rather than using racist and sexist ideas to sweep them under the rug. Dahlia Tarver, hi, sweetie.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here, Andrea.
So, how old are you, Dahlia?
I'm 16.
You're like a young old soul. I just think you are absolutely amazing. You hear me? So you and I are just going to talk like mother is in the living room with you, and we're going to talk about simplified period. Explain to people what simplified period is and why you're involved and engaged in this.
Of course. So Simplified Period is a nonprofit focusing on providing menstrual products to young women and girls in period poverty. So period poverty is basically a really serious issue that many girls and women face, which is not being able to afford menstrual products during their periods. Girls and women are forced to complete their periods on socks or towels, and that's not okay because everyone should be able to access adequate menstrual products during their period. It's a basic human function.
Yes,
and so Simplified Period, we work to provide women and girls with sustainable products like menstrual products, such as period panties, menstrual cups, and reusable things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I'm involved with Simplified Period because I think that it's just a necessary cause. It's so important that we as human beings bond together and we fight against inequities in our society.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So what I love about you is that you're 16 years old and your young voice will be able to amplify it for younger children who may want to know, who may have issues with period poverty but won't know who to talk to or where to go, right? How would people be able to reach Simplified Period should they want to be able to access these products? Are you there yet? Are you there in giving products yet, or are you still collecting products?
We're still in development. We're still collecting products and donations, but if women and girls have questions, they can feel free to contact us on our social media accounts and our website. There's a contact function on our website where they can send us questions and we'll respond. Also, we're going to do cup drives in 2021, which is basically us handing out menstrual products to women and girls and providing them educational materials on how to use them.
Cup drive in 2021. I love talking to you. You just
thank you.
I just love talking to you. So have you spoken to any young people who are asking what a cup is yet? Are they asking questions about what the cup is or how to? Is Chi there with you?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hey, sweetie, how are you? So you are the president and CEO of Simplified Period, right? And
yes,
I wanted to find out if young girls are already questioning, asking, how can one get a cup? What does the cup do? Are we getting those questions yet?
Absolutely. Dahlia, definitely, as the youth ambassador, has taken charge and, communicating with her age mates, the high schoolers and, the Instagram followers. And I think because the young people are leading the charge, their peers are much more comfortable posing those questions to them and are absolutely interested. So we do get questions from, women, non-binary folk who are interested in trying out a menstrual cup who may not have used one before. And, what it is a silicone, surgical-grade silicone product that is just in a shape of a small cup. And it gets inserted in one's vagina, and it just, rather than absorb blood during one's menstrual period, it simply collects it. So there's no risk of a toxic shock syndrome.
Right.
You can't really have it in too long because it's not absorbing anything, right?
Right.
Just, once it's full, you take it out and dump it out, clean up, and start over. So we are certainly getting those, and it's providing Dahlia and the team an opportunity to educate, because half of this is also, introducing something that's not that commonly used in that age group, but with the right introduction, the right comfort level, if they started using it, they would also reduce their carbon footprint because there's no pollution.
Yes.
It's not something, it's not disposable, something that they could, a cup would, with proper use, last a young woman about 10 years.
Wow.
So now you're eliminating that monthly expense.
And what is the cost of a cup that you're going to be giving away for free?
Yeah, we'll be giving them away for free once we have our cup drives in the new year. And the typical cup is about $40.
So the amount of money, so I grew up in Jamaica, as you know, and I am the oldest of 4 girls, plus my mother, plus my father, right? So every month, my parents had to write into the budget because a monthly cycle is something that is a natural part of human existence, right? I don't know why we don't talk about it, and we let women suffer in shame all the time about this, right? So imagine have to write into the budget for 5 women every single month. And I took it for granted, that we were just the sanitary napkins would just show up every month, like clockwork. Not realizing that so many women did not have that option, right?
Right.
And so, simplified period. We talk about it. It says it impacts the lives of young women and girls by sidelining them from equal participation in the educational system and work environment, because if they don't have the products, then they're not going to work and they're not going to school because they're embarrassed, right?
Exactly. I totally agree with that. Yes.
Right. And so we have an opportunity now and to work alongside other organizations. I know there are other organizations out here that are doing the work. They're doing a yeoman's job, but quite frankly, there are way more women than we have people out here doing the work, right? We have folks that are working from here, sending kits to Africa all the time. So the simplified period is just adding on to what is already happening out here and doing it in a way that we're reducing the carbon footprint. Because once you have a cup, even though a cup is $40 and it lasts 10 years, what is the estimated savings from using a cup versus having the disposable napkins? Did you learn that yet?
Yeah, so the average woman will spend about $20 to $35 a month on disposable menstrual supplies, everything from pads, panty liners, things of that nature. And with a cup, if the average woman is menstruating for 30 years, that's about $30 a month for 30 years.
Times 30 years.
That's
Lord.
money, right? Yeah.
Yes, that is a ton of money. Dahlia, when I first spoke to you, you had me at hello, right? When you were talking about this and you're like, hi guys, I just want to talk to you about this. And I see you doing your videos and encouraging young girls to try this, not only to reduce the carbon footprint, but to be a strong youth ambassador for a simplified period. What does doing this work mean to you?
Thank you for asking that. So doing this work to me means that we can close the gap of period poverty. We can just create equity, because there's nothing that bothers me more than the inequities I see in our society. I have been blessed. I've been privileged I've been blessed with economic privilege. I'm middle class. I've never had to worry about getting tampons and pads and menstrual products myself. However, I know girls who do. And that's not okay with me to just sit by and let that happen. So I'm just really passionate about this cause because I think we need to close this gap. It's important.
You're so, I could talk to Dahlia all day, every day, and then sometimes on Sunday. There is, education is really the key to getting where we need to, and being able to communicate with people in a way so that you're understood is a beautiful thing. Dahlia, you're a prime example of that. I want to thank you for talking to us about simplified period. So what is the next step? What is going to happen next?
The next step, honestly, is to follow us on social media, because we're constantly putting out information about education, resources, and our future cup drives, which will be coming up in the new year. So, and also our partnerships with cup and menstrual product manufacturers. So following us on social media is the best way to stay up to date with all the new information that we're putting out, all the education materials.
So which social media platform are you on right now?
So we are currently on Instagram at simplified period, We're on Twitter at Simplified Period, and we're on Facebook at Simplified Period.
Yes. And if people want to donate a cup or donate to a cup, where do they do that?
They can go to our website, which is simplifiedperiod.org, and press the Donate a Cup button at the top.
Period.org and press Donate a cup. So in the interest of full disclosure, Chi came to me a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I was like, Chi, I don't know where I'm going to add any more time to this, to sit on the board of Simplified Period, because, you know, it's a mission that sits well with me as a woman and one with 3 sisters and a mother. And we have seen so many people struggle with period poverty for such a long time. And we wanted to do this in a way that people would keep their dignity, right? Because this is not about telling horror stories, but it is really about finding a dignified way to giving people, you know, access to products that really should be a part of everyday life, because it is a part of who we are, you know?
Exactly.
Once a woman hits puberty without without a menstrual cycle every month, you know, that's how we tell that we're not pregnant, all of those things. And so I want folks to really pay attention and not just sit in a, oh my God, I can't believe they're talking about this. And like Anita O'Connor said in the last segment, people don't want you to touch their breast because they were told not to. Like, come on. We need to know our body parts. We need to be able to understand when something is going wrong with them, and to be able to talk about it in an educated way and not to feel shy about it. You know, thank you so much, you and Dahlia, so much for all of this. Is there anything else that you'd like us to know?
No, thank you for giving this amazing but so little known problem a platform. I do think that, you know, especially in the diaspora, we are shy about, and there's stigma about talking about our bodies. So, you know, once people started finding out that period poverty even has a name, they were so shocked. And quite honestly, I was embarrassed for not having known about it, you know, from birth. Like, no woman in my circle, no woman really should deal with this, because it's not something we can control, this biological need, right? And the fact that the idea of period poverty quite literally prevents young women from thriving is something that we as a society should tackle together, both men and women, everyone, because, you know, we raise daughters. You know, there are single fathers there who don't know that their daughters are dealing with this. There's a lot of stigma with just like asking the male in your life to help with supplies, let alone sustainable supplies that will keep you from having this need on a too frequent a basis. Right. So just, you know, basically closing that poverty, at least this portion of poverty. There's so much more that, you know, people in poverty have to worry about. If we can eliminate this, then that's one less thing. So a young, you know, 16-year-old in high school can attend gym class, can actually show up for school, you know, participate in gymnastics and do everything that her peers can do without the shame of, you know, just not having a quarter to go put in the bathroom machine for a tampon or a pad, and therefore, you know, skipping out on life.
You know what, you brought up something that I didn't think about. The hundreds of thousands of single fathers out here raising daughters. Huh?
Yeah.
Where's the support for them when their daughter comes to them and says, Dad, you know, what does that look like? I would love to see a workshop on that, you know, so because we don't talk about it. Like we kind of make assumptions that these things happen in osmosis and that it's going to be okay. But we really need to create a space for single dads, you know, because they're probably sending them to auntie or the neighbor around the street, but there needs to be a safe space for men to talk about their daughters going through puberty and what that means and what do the products look like without them feeling embarrassed or ashamed about it. Does that make sense?
That's a great point. That's an amazing point. And it's definitely an opportunity for us to focus on.
Yes, it is. It is absolutely an opportunity, and one I think we really should pay attention to. So I want to thank you both. I'm looking forward to what's coming up next, and we're going to do this the way we always do, with grace, class, style, and giving people their dignity.
You're amazing.
All right.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right. You're quite welcome. Have a good one, man. Bye-bye. Bye, Dahlia.
You too. Bye.
Oh, my gosh. So, you know, when I in 2015, I was on a ton of boards, right? And I just had complete burnout because after a while, a good friend of mine who happens to be, he passed away, Hillary Holloway, said to me several years ago, he was my very first mentor. He said, when you get on a board, do not stay on a board until the end of time. You serve 1 or 2 terms and then you get off and move on. That serves 2 purposes. 1, you don't stay on there until you are not giving anything that's worth anything, right? Because when you stay on a board past your time, you're just there. You're just sitting there. You don't have anything new to offer. And 2, you give a new voice an opportunity to get on that board and create better changes. It's just part of the reason why we have so much stagnation, because people don't know how to move on. I don't personally think you should be on a board for 15, 20, 30, 40 years, but that's just me, right? So in 2015, I dropped off every board that I was on. And I was asked to lead a board at Arcadia University, to chair a board at Arcadia University. I was asked to sit on another board right here in Philadelphia that I never talk about, but I'm the vice president of that board. And now I'm doing Simplified Period. I'm choosing openly and creatively where I sit, if it has to do with children, if it has to do with helping minorities, if it has to, you know, just all of that. That's what it comes down to for me at this particular point in time. And so we have to really stop and think about how are we best expending the energies that we have, or are we just joining things because we want to be seen or we want to have our names on things, right? Because if your name is on something and you're really not creating a difference, then why are you there? Ego is the thing that has kept so many of us locked in patterns that we should have long since gotten out of. And so I want to encourage you, take a look at the boards that you're sitting on. Are you creating tangible changes on those boards, right? Are you making a difference, or are you just sitting on the board to say you're sitting on the board? Because nothing changes if nothing changes, right? And if you look around you and you're sitting there and you're going, well, we've been at this since 1942 and nothing's happening. Look at the Reverend Dr. Leon H. Sullivan Trust. Look at what's happening there. You continue to see that folks are moving on, because one of the things Leon H. Sullivan has always talked about was pass the baton. Pass the baton, right? When you can't pass the baton, that says more about you than you will ever know. Learn how to teach people what you know so that you can move on and that your legacy does not die with you. Founder syndrome is a deadly thing that far too many people carry. And I've walked away from organizations because they're thriving with founder syndrome. They're teaming with it. You offer them advice and they're like, no, I'm the founder, I'm the CEO, I'm the executive director. You can't tell me what to do. This is my baby. But if you're here to help people, then it's really not about you, but the people that you're supposed to be serving, right? And so I walk away from stuff like that because it's not serving the people and it's not serving anybody else beyond the founder and the people who are, just caught up in their own air supply. I just don't understand it. So here we go. So here. You should hear from Simplified Period coming up soon. Major magazine already connected with Chi to give products, and a major cup supplier has already partnered with her to give products, because it's also not just what you do, but how you do it, right? So all of those things make a difference. None of us are in this to make money, but to serve people. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, and this next 40 minutes belong to the WURD listeners, you can call me. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
The pandemic is not only putting everyone's health at risk, it's also impacted our jobs and retirement security. And it's disproportionately affecting African Americans, especially those 50 plus. That's why AARP Pennsylvania is fighting for your voice to be heard. If you haven't voted yet, now is the time to learn about your voting options and cast your ballot. We're working to make sure you can vote safely, whether you choose to vote from home or in person. And if you choose to vote by mail, make sure you return your ballot using both envelopes. Your ballot goes in the smaller envelope for secrecy, and that goes into the larger envelope for mailing. Also, don't forget to sign the voter declaration on the back. Your voice matters. Make sure it's heard. Go to aarp.org/PA votes to learn about your voting options and how to vote safely this election. Visit aarp.org/PA votes today. Paid for by AARP.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
Everyone's journey to their vote is different, but they all share the same first step. If you want your voice to be heard on Election Day this November 3rd, you must be registered to vote. It's easy, and there are lots of ways to register. You can do it in person, online, or by mail, but you have to do it by October 19th. To learn more about how to register and to make a plan to vote, visit PhiladelphiaVotes.com. However you want to vote, we'll help you find the way.
What's up, Philly? It's Sincerely Sarita. The school year is underway, but never before has that experience come in so many shapes and sizes. Is the education of your child being left to a smattering of clumsy in-person and virtual instruction? The COVID-19 crisis has created a market for untested virtual teaching models lacking true credibility. Maybe it's time to reconsider and exercise your choice. Maybe it's time to check out Commonwealth Charter Academy. Here are the benefits to your family. 1. An online education provided at no cost to you, complete with laptop, headset, and help with internet access. 2. Partnership with the market leader in cyber education with a nearly 20-year track record of world-class learning. And 3. Delivery of a safe, reliable, and comfortable education experience over the internet directly to the confines of your living room. Visit ccaeducate.me today and discover the gold standard of cyber education. That's ccaeducate.me.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, we're in the last 40 minutes of the show, and it is up for the WURD listeners. I'm going to be reading a few articles that caught my eye because I'm always looking to see what is happening around us. There are two places that I spend a lot of time, the Washington Post and the New York Times, because they give me a resourceful news that not just talks about what's happening locally, but around the country. And so Jeffrey Fowler, who is a technology columnist, wrote an article that was submitted at 7 a.m. today from the Washington Post. And he says, and it's so true because I had to do a Google this morning, how does Google's monopoly hurt you? Let's Google together. Open up a web browser and search for T-shirts. I'll wait. Is the first thing you see a search result? I am not talking about the stuff labeled ads or maps. On my screen, the actual result is not in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, or eighth stuff in a row. It's buried on row 9. I have noticed that too, Jeffrey. I have. Googling didn't used to require so much scrolling. On some searches, it's like, where's Waldo, but for information. Without us even realizing it, the internet's most used website has been getting worse. On too many queries, Google is more interested in making search lucrative than a better product for us. There's one reason it gets away with this, according to a recent congressional investigation. Google is so darn big. An impending antitrust lawsuit from the United States Justice Department is expected to make a similar point. How does Google's alleged monopoly hurt you? Today, 88% of all searches happen on Google. 88%. In part because contracts make it the default on computers and phones. But whether Google is actually fetching you good information can be hard to see. First, Googling is easy and free, which blinds everyone a bit. Second, we don't have a great alternative for broad web searches. Microsoft's rival Bing doesn't have enough data to compete well. This is the problem of monopolies in the information age. Pay attention. All these things make sense. Over the last 2 decades, Google has made changes in drips rather than big makeovers. To see how search results have changed, what you'd need is a time machine. Good news, we have one of those. The Internet Archive's Wayback Machine stored some Google search results over the years. When we look back, a picture emerges of how Google increasingly fails us. There's more space dedicated to ads. It's true. I Googled something this morning, and I saw 7 ads before I got to what I was looking for that looks like search results. And so you click on the ad, and then it takes you somewhere else. There's more space dedicated to ads that look like search results, more results with answer snippets, sometimes incorrect, ripped from other sites. And increasingly, results point you back to Google's own properties, such as Maps and YouTube, where it can show more ads and gather more of your data. Pay attention, people. Every time I come on here, I tell you, pay attention. There are lots of times Google is still darn useful. I believe the company when it says it makes over 3,000 improvements every year, such as searching with your camera or just humming to find a song. But it's also true that Google can bury better results when doing so helps it make money or prioritize it another Google service. It can act like a bad personal shopper who organizes your wardrobe by whatever t-shirts earn the highest commission. And he says, Google disputes my review. Comparing your experience you get with Google today to the quality of Google in 1999 is like comparing high-speed Wi-Fi to dial-up internet, emailed spokeswoman Lara Levin. She said it's incorrect to define results as unpaid blue links to other websites. What has changed is how we organize the information in a way that's more modern and that hundreds of thousands of tests each year tell us that people find useful. Members of Congress, regulators, and legal experts will battle in the weeks ahead over the nuances of antitrust law. Fortunately, to see for yourself how Google puts profit over people, all you have to do is join him on 3i Open Searches. So look at the Washington Post, and you will see this particular article. Just great stuff, just great stuff. There's something else that I wanted to read to you. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. China's economy is rebounding. Now remember, China, the virus that the president says, China, virus starts in China. Hold on one second. I'm looking at something on Facebook. Gary Bryant says, Andrea Lawful Sanders, what about career politicians who make it a career and won't pass the baton? Don't get me started, because I only stayed 2 terms and walked off away from there too. They have made it a career at our expense, and it's a time for them to go. But the only way for us to get them to go is for us to vote and put them out, right? And so if someone feels like a career politician and they've not made changes, you know, I love when Senator Shirley Kitchen said in a conversation with her on Friday, that she knew when it was time to pass the baton, that she was teaching others. And I believe Darisha is the one that's taking her seat now. So she mentored other people to get into her spot and to, you know, teach them what to do. And she didn't just hand it over and knighted her. She had to do the work. Darisha had to do the work to get to where she is. And so that's the problem. When we don't work on our what's the word that I'm looking for? Our core values. When our core values are skewed, then you get what you get when you see people sit in places and don't do what they're supposed to do, right? Because it all becomes about them. Well, I am the one. You have to come through me to talk to me about anything in my community. No, sir, ma'am. You have to check in and see who in the community would best serve the needs of the community. A leader is one who is first a servant. I say this over and over and over again, right? A leader doesn't sit around waiting for people to knight them and fawn all over them when they walk into a room. A leader is one that walks in and sits among the people and don't make a big deal about themselves. All those things make all the difference, right? So there we are. So David Leonard says, good morning. China's economy is rebounding. The Dodgers reached the World Series, and the Supreme Court may be about to get even friendlier to corporations. Pay attention. I know we have a lot going on, but these are the things that matter. Amy Coney Barrett didn't duck every substantive question that senators asked at her confirmation hearing last week. When the answer seemed obvious enough for her, she gave it. She condemned white supremacy, said smoking caused cancer, and praised Brown versus Board of Education, the Supreme Court case outlawing school segregation, as a super precedent. But there were a couple of striking moments when Barrett would not offer clear answers. She called climate science controversial, a view that few scientists share, and she declined to say whether Medicare, the popular health insurance program for older Americans that existed for more than 50 years, was legal. Well, let's see, Barrett said when Senator Dianne Feinstein asked whether the program was constitutional. I can't answer that question, she said in the abstract, because, as we've talked about, the no hints, no forecast, no previews rule. In other words, the legitimacy of Medicare was a sufficiently open question that Barrett did not want to address it because she might have to rule on it. It was a preview of just how aggressive a Supreme Court with Barrett may be. Lord, go vote. Much of the discussion about Barrett's nomination has focused on social issues like abortion, guns, and same-sex marriage. They're all important, obviously. but they are not the issues that animate many activists and wealthy campaign donors who have spent decades pushing for a conservative overhaul of the courts. To those activists, the most famous being the Koch family, or the Koch family, the overriding goal is to reduce corporate regulations and taxes. As Charles Koch said in one speech, he wants to stop confiscatory taxation, safety and health regulations, trade barriers, so that equal opportunity requirements and many more interventions, so-called equal opportunity requirements and many more interventions. It's so funny when people are so filthy rich that they're still looking for more, and the poor keeps getting poorer. Koch gave a speech in 1974, and in the almost 5 decades since, the conservative judicial project has made a lot of progress. The Supreme Court and lower courts have made it harder for labor unions to organize, harder for consumers and workers to fight corporate fraud, and easier for wealthy Americans to give millions of dollars in campaign donations, often secretly. These rulings are one reason that the incomes of the very rich have risen so much faster in recent decades than incomes of the middle class and poor. For the past half-century, the court have been drawing up plans for a more economically unequal nation. Andy Cohen, a former member of the Times editorial board, wrote in his recent book, Supreme Inequality. Barrett's answers suggest she may make the court even friendlier to big companies. She would be the 6th Republican appointed justice, which means one of them could defect, and the court could still rule against regulation or taxation. So much going on. A 2007 decision in which Anthony Kennedy joined the liberal justices in allowing the government to regulate carbon emissions may be in jeopardy. So is Obamacare. You know that thing, Obamacare, that everybody called the American Affordable Care Act, that people are now getting free mammograms and free birth control. All those things that we are taking for granted now that came out of the American Affordable Care Act may go away as a direct result of this. Pay attention. They're trying to get rid of Medicare. Like, so much is happening, right? So is Obamacare, which John Roberts joined the liberals to uphold. If Barrett views both Medicare and climate science as questionable, it's easy to imagine her rejecting many long-standing laws and regulations. And she will be joining the court when many Democrats, including Joe Biden, believe the federal government should do more to lift middle-class living standards and fight climate change. Biden wants to reduce carbon emissions sharply, strengthen labor unions, raise taxes on the rich, make college and health care more affordable, and so much more. Polls show that a majority of voters support most of these policies, but conservative judges like Barrett generally do not, and they have been willing to strike down laws they don't like. It is an echo of the so-called Lochner era of the early 20th century, when the Supreme Court threw out laws on the minimum wage, child labor, or other business regulation. So get ready for a big, long fight over the American economy, with the Supreme Court at the center of it all. I'm sorry, my throat is dry. So this week, the Senate is on track to confirm Barrett by Friday, allowing her to join the court in time to hear upcoming cases on Obamacare, the climate, and so much more. Yusef, I see you're on the line. How are you, sir?
Yes, good afternoon. I just heard you mention about people that are filthy rich are trying to get you even more richer.
Yes.
Well,
yes,
I wanted to mention that the owner of all the ShopRights and the fresh grocers in the metropolitan Philadelphia area, it was said on one of these talk stations that he's a trillionaire. Now,
oh, are you talking about Jeffrey Brown?
I guess that's his name. If he was a trillionaire, why isn't his employees unionized so they can make more than $7.25 an hour for standing on their feet all day?
Oh, so Yusef, hold on. If you're talking about Jeffrey Brown, because I've researched that man up and down, and I know, and I've seen all the pieces written about him. Not only has he worked with his employers, and Jeff, trust me, not paying me for a diggity dang thing, but he's hired returning citizens, right, and began making them managers of his stores. So he has worked with his employees. It may not be Jeffrey Brown that you're talking about, though. So I don't know. I can't speak about anybody else. But I do know with him, and he has made sure that his employees earn a good living. Now, if somebody wants to refute that, I'll get him back on the air so we can talk about it. But I don't know him particularly to be someone who would not take care of his employees, because he's one of the few people that have hired returning citizens and then worked to make sure that their records were expunged and then made them managers. It's the most amazing thing to see.
Okay.
Okay?
But why isn't his stores unionized?
I don't know. So I can't answer that because I don't know if his stores are unionized or not. I don't have enough information to give you, and I guess, Michael, you can look that up for me, because I'm, to see if his stores are, I don't know. I don't know what that is about. But I will find out for you. How about that, Yusef? Can I do that for you?
Yes.
Yeah, I can do that for you. Is there anything else you want to talk to Mother about?
No, that's all for now.
That's all. So you want me to find out if, let me just make sure, if the ShopRite stores are unionized, right?
And the fresh grocers.
ShopRite stores and the fresh grocers. And who told you they were not unionized, sir?
I was listening to one of these talk stations, and they were saying that he's a trillionaire, number one, and all his supermarkets are not in the union. Like Acme supermarkets are in the union, and when they retire, they get a pension.
Okay.
So I'm saying these people working in these fresh grocers and ShopRites, they don't get a pension. And some of them, now I know some of them are managers and some of them have pharmaceutical positions and they get good pay. But a lot of the workers just get the minimum wage and saying, that's all they get. And then they get, I guess, some money put in their Social Security account, but that's it.
Okay, so you know what, Yusef? I am going to look into this. All right? Mother is on the case. I am going to look and see what I can find, and then I'll let you know. Okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, you're quite welcome. It is almost 3:40. My goodness gracious me. But Yusuf asked a good question, so we're going to look that up. If Brianna, Michael, any one of you are listening, look for this for me, please. China is showing that a fast economic rebound is possible when the virus is under control. Its economy grew nearly as fast this summer as before the pandemic. It was the largest event in, let me just do this. Hold on. Let me just go over here. With COVID-19 under control, China's economy surges ahead. It's always, and the thing, and that's what we keep saying to people, if you sacrifice now, the economy can rebound. We are in a deep recession in this country. Again, nobody's talking about it, right? Because we're trying to pretend that life is going on as usual. But oh my goodness, look at China. My. A shopping area in Beijing during the Golden Week, public holidays in early October. After months of coronavirus lockdowns and restrictions, it was the first major holiday for Chinese people, and they're all out amongst each other with their masks on. Everybody's wearing a mask, right? As most of the world, this was written by Keith Bradshaw, as most of the world still struggles with the coronavirus pandemic, China is showing once again that a fast economic rebound is possible when the virus is brought firmly under control. The Chinese economy surged 4.9% in the July to September quarter, compared with the same months last year, the country's National Bureau of Statistics announced on Monday. The robust performance brings China almost back up to the roughly 6% pace of growth that it was reporting before the pandemic. Many of the world's major economies have climbed quickly out of the depths of a contraction last spring when shutdowns caused output to fall steeply. But China is the first to report growth that significantly surpasses where it was at this time last year. The United States and other nations are expected to report a third quarter surge too, but they're still behind or just catching up to pre-pandemic levels. China's lead could widen in the months to come. It has almost no local transmission of the virus now, while the United States and Europe face another accelerating wave of cases. Lord, I've never seen anything like it in my life. Just folks just not wanting to do anything, just don't want to do the work. They're so busy concerned about not being able to get what they want when they want it. It just is crazy. It was the largest event in the United States since the pandemic began. In South Dakota 2 months ago, almost 500,000 people attended an annual motorcycle rally that included crowded indoor events. The event appeared to have led to outbreaks across the Midwest. Lord have mercy. 500,000 people, really? Within weeks of the gathering that drew nearly 500,000 bikers, the Dakotas, along with Wyoming, Minnesota, and Montana, were leading the nation in new coronavirus infections per capita because they went back to their homes, right? Let me take a quick break, and then I'm going to come back to talk about this story. Because, again, when we say this, when you're feeling healthy and you go around other people, you're bringing it back to your family members. And it may seem like I'm harping on coronavirus, but until we get this right, more people are going to die. And until it affects your family personally, then we will never get what we need to have, right? So we have to stop being so selfish and think about the larger context of where we are and the people who are working around and living with us. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Your success doesn't have to wait. It's time for a new year and a new you. And with Community College of Philadelphia, your goals are within reach. Our programs are a direct line to today's most sought-after careers, and you can skip the debt without sacrificing the quality of your education. Choose Community College of Philadelphia this spring semester, and you're choosing an education that you will value for years to come. Classes will be offered online, and all admissions and student support services are available remotely. Don't pay more at another college to earn the same credits from home. Start your success story with Community College of Philadelphia. Join us for a virtual open house on Thursday, November 5th at 6 p.m. To get started, RSVP at ccp.edu/open house. Your success starts at ccp.edu.
Joe likes to say that character is on the ballot, and it's true. But let's be clear. This election is about building this country back better. And that's exactly what Joe and I will do. Bring back critical supply chains so the future is made in America. Build on the Affordable Care Act. And finally, offer caregivers the dignity, the respect, and the pay they deserve. We'll protect a woman's right to make her own decisions about her own body, root out systemic racism in our justice system, and pass a new Voting Rights Act that will ensure every voice is heard and every voice is counted. We have a chance to choose a better future for our country.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Reverend Tyler, with November 3rd around the corner, do you know how you'll be voting this year?
Dr. Callahan, I requested my mail-in ballot, and I'm returning it the day it comes in the mail.
That's perfect, because we can't leave anything to chance this year.
Already received your mail-in ballot? You're just a few simple steps away from turning your mailbox into a ballot box. Here's how. After selecting your candidates, place your marked ballot into the small secrecy envelope and seal it. It's a 2-envelope process, so then you'll place the small secrecy envelope into the larger one. Make sure to seal that one too. Sign and date it, and then it's as simple as dropping it in your mailbox, no postage necessary, or returning it to your county election office. And if you still want to sign up to vote by mail or find out where to drop off your mail-in ballot, visit votespa.com.
I'm not waiting until November 3rd. I'm returning my mail-in ballot the day it comes in the mail.
Or you can return your ballot to your county election office.
I've got my plan. Make your plan to vote today.
Paid for by Power Interfaith.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Yusef, I hope you are listening. Dalia Archer put up an article on the Facebook page. Jeff Brown is actually unionized. So listen, this was written in June 17, 2015 by Jane Von Bergen for the Philadelphia Inquirer. And it says, anyone reading this newspaper would assume that unions and management can possibly get along and that the worst thing that could happen to any business would be for it to have a unionized workforce. Yet, when Jeffrey Brown founded his 11-store chain of ShopRite supermarkets, I chose to be union, he said. Here's why. Well, I was coming from my dad's business that was unionized. Brown, founder of Brown Superstores Incorporated, which operates supermarkets in and around Philadelphia, told me during our interview published in Sunday's Inquirer. I was accustomed to operating that way. I guess one side of the union that's not really advertised is that the employees are sort of guaranteed a certain level of compensation because they're going to have someone experienced to negotiate for them. I think if you are going to work in this business, you've got a better job if you're working in a unionized store. And so he does. His stores are unionized, which is what I thought. So, Yusef, I don't think that Jeffrey Brown is the guy that you're talking about. And so this is why we do all the searching to make sure that we're given the correct information, because it's easy to get emotional about something when we hear something on the radio. And just remember, the radio show host has a responsibility to make sure that we're giving you the most updated news possible, and to make sure that the news that we're giving you is accurate. So I hope that helps you. I'm still going to reach out to Jeffrey Brown, though, and see if I can get him back on the air to talk about this, because this is a man that has stood in the gap and helped more people than a little bit. And I want to make sure that you understand when you talk to him why he's doing what he does. So anyway, I was reading this article about the 500,000 people from Sturgis, the motorcycle rally, who may have spread, not may have, they did. It's called contact tracing. When you come in contact with somebody that has the virus and they're touching hard surfaces and you don't get to deep clean, all of that stuff becomes a problem, right? Within weeks of the gathering that drew nearly 500,000 bikers, the Dakotas, along with Wyoming, Minnesota, and Montana, were leading the nation in new coronavirus infections per capita. This is written by Brittany Shamas and Lena H. Sun. It had been a long ride back from Sturgis, South Dakota. So when he first felt an ache at the back of his throat, Kenny Cervantes figured he was just tired. He traveled the 400-some miles on his Harley, rumbling through wide-open farm and prairie land on his way home to Riverdale, Nebraska, where his girlfriend was waiting. A lifelong motorcycle enthusiastic, the 50-year-old construction worker and father of 5 had been determined to go to the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, a holy grail for bikers. Even when his girlfriend, Angie Balcom, decided to stay back because she was worried about being around so many people during a pandemic, Cervantes was adamant about going. I don't think there was nothing that was going to stop me, he said. Back home, Cervantes took Tylenol for his throat and went to bed early. But he woke up the next morning coughing so hard he struggled to catch his breath. Over the next few days, the pain in his chest made him fear that his heart might stop, and a test later confirmed he had the novel coronavirus, which causes the disease, COVID-19. He was admitted to the hospital 11 days later on August 27th. Soon, his girlfriend and his sisters were sick, and Cervantes was going over everything he did and every place he visited in Sturgis, wondering where the virus had found him. Within weeks of the gathering, the Dakotas, along with Wyoming, Minnesota, and Montana, were leading the nation in new coronavirus infections per capita. The surge was especially pronounced in North and South Dakota, where cases and hospitalization rates continued their juggernaut rise into October. Experts say they will never be able to determine how many of those cases originated at the 10-day rally. 500,000 people at a 10-day rally. I wish somebody would. Given the failure of state and local health officials to identify and monitor attendees returning home or to trace chains of transmission after people got sick. Some, however, believe the nearly 500,000 person gathering played a role in the outbreak now consuming the upper Midwest. More than 330 coronavirus, let me say that again. More than 330 coronavirus cases and 1 death were directly linked to the rally as of mid-September. Come on. According to a Washington Post survey of health departments in 23 states that provided information. But experts say that tally represents just the tip of the iceberg, since contact tracing often doesn't capture the source of an infection and asymptomatic spread goes unnoticed. In many ways, Sturgis is an object lesson in the patchwork U.S. response to a virus that has proved remarkably adept at exploiting such gaps to become resurgent. While some states and localities banned even relatively small groups of people, others, like South Dakota, imposed no restrictions, in this case, allowing the largest gathering of people in the United States, and perhaps anywhere in the world, amid the pandemic, and creating huge vulnerabilities as tens of thousands of attendees travel back home to every state in the nation. Many went unmasked to an event public health officials pleaded with them to skip, putting themselves and others at risk because they were skeptical about the risks or felt the entreaties infringed on their personal liberties. I've never seen a country where people are just it's my personal liberties. Like, all these people are dying around you, people are getting sick, and you're still talking about your personal liberties. Where is the sacrifice? There's no honor with no sacrifice. Rally goers jammed bars, restaurants, tattoo parlors, and concert venues. South Dakota officials later identified 4 such businesses as sites of potential exposure after learning that infected people had visited them. Despite the concerns expressed by health experts even ahead of the event, efforts to urge returnees to safe quarantine lacked enforcement clout and were largely unsuccessful, and the work by state and local officials to identify chains of transmission and stop them was inconsistent and uncoordinated. Those efforts became further complicated when some suspected of having the virus refused to be tested, said Chris Erishman, Director of Infectious Disease Epidemiology at the Minnesota Department of Health. Such challenges made it all but impossible to trace the infections attendees may have spread to others after they got home. Mike, you and I were doing the right thing, honey. We just kept spraying and spraying. Several infections tied to a wedding in Minnesota, for instance, linked back to someone who had gone to Sturgis, Erishman said. Those were not tallied with the Sturgis outbreak because the web just gets too complicated, she said. When it comes to infectious diseases, it's often the case that the weakest link in the chain is a risk to everybody, said Josh McCall, an epidemiologist and associate director for global health policy for the nonprofit Kaiser Family Foundation. Holding a 500,000 in-person rally in the midst of a pandemic is emblematic. Is emblematic of a nation as a whole that maybe isn't taking the virus as seriously as we should. It's true. Wow. If you saw this, it was something. And I remember going to South Dakota in 2018 on my first trip across the country, and as we were leaving, that Sturgis bike gathering was happening. I mean, hundreds of thousands of bikers were coming in, and at that time we weren't thinking about an infection, right? And it was on for 10 days. We were so happy to be driving out of South Dakota that day. I don't know what to tell you. We did see the presidents on the monument of the presidents, though, before we rolled out. The August 7th to 16th gathering has drawn intense interest from scientists and health officials and will likely be studied for years to come because of its singularity. It's not just that Sturgis went on after the pandemic sidelined most everything else. It also drew people from across the country, all of them converging on one region, packing the small city's main street and the bars and restaurants along it. And in contrast with participants in the Black Lives Matter protest this summer, many Sturgis attendees spent time clustered indoors at bars, restaurants, and tattoo parlors, where experts say the virus is most likely to spread, especially among those without masks. We keep talking about this. Nick Talaferro is coming up next. We can have all sorts of guests. We can have all sorts of intelligent, educated conversations. But the fact of the matter is, if we don't stop and think, we're going to be in 2021 still fighting a virus with no end in sight, and more people are going to die. I want to thank you all once again for always being a part of the source, always listening, always giving me great feedback, making sure that your voices are heard. I heard you. I am cutting down on the guests, making sure that we get more of you on the phone so that we can talk about what's going on. I did not hear from my friend Woody today in the last couple of days. We had to make sure he's all right. But I think I heard from just about everybody else. You guys have a wonderful day. Stay safe. I will see you tomorrow. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.